Welcome to Infinite Novel Audio. Like, subscribe, and enjoy this video. Chapter 76. Seeing that Flender didn't say anything, Yu Xiaogang didn't intend to comfort him, and continued to play his master role from the sidelines. And Tang San in the back was playing with his hidden weapon. Yin Hao and Xiao Wu were flirting. Oscar was courting Enning Rongrong, but Enning Rongrong didn't seem to receive the meaning and kept frowning to deal with him. Dai Mu by standing there alone. She didn't know what she was thinking. And Zhu Zhuqing was also leaning against the tree by herself, only looking in the direction of Yin Hao and Xiao Wu from time to time. As time slowly passed, the purple soul ring surrounding Ma Hongjun finally stabilized. The breath began to restrain, and slowly entered Ma Hongjun's body. This was the manifestation of the complete absorption of the soul ring. Flanders finally breathed a sigh of relief when he saw this, but he was not happy for 2 seconds. Ma Hongjun, who had just absorbed the soul ring, quickly began to turn red. Heat appeared on his body, and his whole body seemed to be on fire. Flanders secretly said something wrong at that time. As Ma Hongjun's teacher, of course he knew that this was a manifestation of Ma Hongjun's evil fire, but now that they were in the Star Forest, where could they find a place for him to vent his anger? But this time, the evil fire on Ma Hongjun's body seemed to be more intense than before. His eyes suddenly opened, and the originally black and white eyeballs were completely replaced by red. There was no time for everyone to react. He stood up and rushed towards Enning Rongrong, who was the closest to him among the girls, like crazy. Oscar and Enning Rongrong were not far away. Seeing Ma Hongjun walking towards him immediately after absorbing the spirit ring, he thought he was here to say hello to him, so he quickly smiled and waved to Ma Hongjun. "Fatty, you finished absorbing the spirit ring. Ah." Before Oscar could finish speaking, he was thrown aside by Ma Hongjun with great strength. He directly threw Oscar several meters away. Flanders did not expect that Ma Hongjun's evil fire attack would be so severe this time. He wanted to step forward, but it was too late, so he could only shout to Enning Rongrong. "Run! Hongjun's evil fire has exploded." But as an auxiliary system soul master who has no defenses and is not good at fighting, how could Enning Rongrong outrun Ma Hongjun? Before starting to run, Ma Hongjun was almost in front of her. Seeing the salty pig's hand that Ma Hongjun stretched out towards her, Enning Rongrong turned pale with fright, but there were trees on both sides, so she had nowhere to run. At this moment, Yin Hao, who was originally standing not far from Enning Rongrong, saw this, hurriedly put Xiao Wu down, rushed forward with one stride, and kicked Ma Hongjun several meters away with one kick. When Enning Rongrong saw this, he breathed a sigh of relief as if he had survived a disaster, and glanced at Yin Hao with gratitude. But the matter was not over yet. Ma Hongjun, who was kicked away by Yin Hao, seemed to feel no pain. He quickly stood up and ran towards the great beauty Dai Mu Bai. Fortunately, Flanders was not far away and rushed forward to control Ma Hongjun, but he was still struggling with all his teeth and claws. Then Yin Hao summoned the blue-silver Emperor Martial Spirit and directly fixed his limbs and body to the ground, making him quieter. "What's going on, Dean?" Enning Rongrong stepped forward and asked with a dark face. Without looking at her appearance, just by listening to her tone, he knew that she was in a bad mood. Dai Mu Bai also has a dark face, and his face is even worse than Enning Rongrong now. "You said you went to Enning Rongrong because of the evil fire, but after being kicked here, you came to see me. Does Lao Tzu look like a woman?" Flender frowned and shook his head. "I don't know either. After Hongjun absorbed the spirit ring, the evil fire flared up, and it was even more violent than before. In the past, when the evil fire flared up, he was still conscious at least, but now he seems to have no consciousness at all." As Flanders spoke, he looked in the direction of Yu Xiaogang, wanting to ask him what was going on, but Yu Xiaogang seemed not to see it, neither spoke nor stepped forward. Zhao Wuji also stepped forward. "Now is not the time to care whether he is conscious or not. Let's suppress Hongjun's evil fire first. If I drag it on, I'm afraid Hongjun will be finished." How could Flender not know about this? As Ma Hongjun's teacher, he is more worried about Ma Hongjun's current situation than anyone else. But now this is the great Stardew Forest. It must be too late to bring Ma Hongjun back to Soto City, so we can't just find some female creatures in the Stardew Forest to vent his anger, right? Flanders frowned and looked around, and finally his eyes rested on Yin Hao. His eyes lit up, and he seemed to be paying attention. "Xiao Hao, your soul skill has ice attribute. You should have absorbed the soul ring of an ice attribute soul beast, and your soul power is stronger than Hongjun's. Try to suppress Hongjun's evil fire." Yin Hao was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that this matter could be brought to him, but it doesn't matter. Ma Hongzhen is his withdrawal cough beloved relatives and friends, brothers and sisters. It's nothing to help him. Then he nodded, no longer fussing, and 4 yellow, purple, and black soul rings appeared around him. Seeing that Yin Hao's 4th soul ring was black, everyone present, especially Yu Zairogang, were very surprised, but now is not the time to ask these things, so they can only keep their doubts to the bottom of their hearts. Then Yin Hao's 1st and 3rd soul rings lit up, and a stream of ice energy began to flow into Ma Hongzhen's body along the blue-silver Emperor's vines. 1 minute, 5 minutes. Half an hour passed. As Yin Hao's soul power continued to be transmitted, the color of Ma Hongzhen's body surface began to change from fiery red, but his eyes were still red, and he was struggling crazily on the ground. It was obvious that his consciousness had not returned yet. Yin Hao stopped transmitting the soul power in his hand and took a breath. Carl. Seeing Yin Hao stop, Flender asked quickly, How is Hongzhen doing now? Other people also cast their gazes. The evil fire in Hongzhen's body has basically been suppressed by me. But what? Flender was almost dying of anxiety and urged Yin Hao to say. Yin Hao looked at Ma Hongzhen, who was still struggling on the ground, and then at the girls Zyro Wu, Enning Rongrong, and Zhu Xuqing, and then spoke with a hint of embarrassment. However, I can't do anything about the evil fire at his zenith. I can only vent the fire through artificial means as soon as possible, otherwise, the evil fire that has just been suppressed will counterattack. After hearing Yin Hao's words, all the people present were stunned for a moment, and the whole venue was surprisingly quiet except for Ma Hongzhen's struggling voice. Bar nasty. Enning Rongrong was the first to react, spat lightly at Ma Hongzhen, who was on the ground, then pulled Zyro Wu and left. And Zhu Xuqing also had a dark face, followed by both of them, and left the scene at the same pace. Chapter 77. After the 3 girls left, Flender was the first to break the calm. Since this is the case, I will take Hongzhen away now and find him a place to vent his anger. But before he could make any move, Yin Hao directly stopped him. Wait, Dean, Hongzhen's current situation is very unstable. If you move him rashly, the evil fire in his body may immediately counterattack. Flender is almost dying of anxiety. This can't work, that can't work, what else can I do? At this moment, Yu Zairogang, the master, who has the most theoretical knowledge among all people, came out. Maybe we don't have to take Hongzhen away. Hearing this, Flender seemed to have found a life-saving straw, and looked at Yu Zairogang with hopeful eyes. And so do others. Seeing himself becoming the focus of the field again, Yu Zairogang put his hands behind his back and said yo-yo. Just now Zyrohao said that the evil fire in Hongzhen's body has been suppressed, and there is only one last place left, so we just need to get rid of his last evil fire. Won't it be all right? Listening to your words is really like listening to your words. Yu Zirogang's small mouth made everyone on the field dumbfounded. Is there any difference between whether you say it or not? However, Yu Zirogang ignored everyone's puzzled looks and continued to speak. Actually, you don't have to go to the fence to vent your anger. All you need is someone to pull Hongzhen's. At this moment, everyone including Yin Hao was stunned. Teachers Zhao Wuji, Xiao Xin, Li Yusong, and Lu Kiban were the first to react. And then they chatted nonchalantly while walking into the distance. Only the male students Flender Yu Zirogang and Yin Hao stayed where they were. There was another 2-second quiet moment on the court, and it was Flender who broke the deadlock again. Zirogang, wouldn't this method be a little? Before Flanders could finish speaking, he was interrupted again by Yu Zirogang. Flender, is it your disciple's life that is important, or whether this method is strange or not? Hearing Yu Zirogang's words, Flender couldn't say anything more, but who would do this became a difficult problem. After all, no one wanted to do this kind of thing. At this moment, for some unknown reason, Ma Hongzhen, who was originally fixed on the ground by Yin Hao, suddenly broke free from the constraints of his arms and upper body, and then hugged Dai Mubai at the side with his 2 fat hands. He even put his head together, as if he wanted to kiss the great beauty in front of him. Dai Mubai's face turned dark immediately, but before he could raise his hand, Yin Hao on the side summoned a new blue-silver emperor to fix Ma Hongzhen back again. But even so, Ma Hongjun, who was fixed on the ground, still struggled to lean towards Dai Mubai. Before Dai Mubai could express anything, Yu Xiaogang spoke. That, Mubai, Hongjun has been your classmate for many years. Besides Zyro Wu and those girls, there should be no one who is more suitable than you. You just feel wronged. After finishing speaking, he turned around and left without giving Dai Mubai a chance to refuse. And Yin Hao, Tang San and the others naturally wouldn't choose to stay, and also left after glancing at Dai Mubai. Flender walked last, patted Dai Mubai's shoulder and said, Mubai, Hongjun, just leave it to you, don't worry, I will stop everyone and won't let anyone get close. This matter is about Hongjun's life, please, Flender bowed to Dai Mubai as he spoke. This made Dai Mubai, who was originally very resistant, couldn't find a reason for his refusal for a while, so he had no choice but to bite the bullet and nodded in agreement. After everyone left, Dai Mubai looked around, and after confirming that there was no one there, he looked at Ma Hongjun who was lying on the ground. It's all for saving people, Hongjun is my brother, I can't ignore him, yes, it's all for my brother's life. After forcibly comforting himself a few times, Dai Mubai took 2 more deep breaths, then slowly squatted down, and touched the place where Ma Hongjun needed to vent his anger. The people who left were gathered together by Flender, and after he explained a few times, they also expressed that they would not tell what happened today. After the explanation, the students like Yin Hao disbanded on the spot, doing whatever they wanted, but they couldn't go far. Flender, Zhao Wukai and other teachers of Soul Sage and Soul Emperor's combat power were divided into multiple directions, forming a big circle including Ma Hongjun and Yin Hao, to prevent people or soul beasts from coming. Yin Hao and Zairao Zhuzhuking were sitting under the tree chatting. Enning Rongrong was also sitting under the tree, but she was being stalked by Oscar and had no time to chat with everyone. And Yu Xiaogang, the good-for-nothing master, followed Yin Hao and the other students, talking to Tang San with his hands behind his back. Dong dong dong. At this moment, a voice came from underground. Zhao Wukai, who was in charge of the safety of these students on the scene, immediately became alert. Zhao Wuji suddenly looked in Tang San's direction and then shouted loudly, Little San, back off. Hearing Zhao Wuji's shout, Tang San didn't hesitate at all, grabbed Yu Xiaorogang's clothes and quickly retreated behind him. Just the second after the two left, a huge grey-white bug opened its bloody mouth and rushed out from the ground where the two were standing just now. Zhao Wuji had quick hands and eyes, and he immediately summoned his martial spirit and slapped the big insect to the ground, unable to move. The frightened Yu Xiaorogang swallowed his saliva twice, but thinking of his image as a master, he forcibly calmed down and walked forward calmly. Yin Hao also brought Zyro Wu, Zhu Zhuking and the others over. Zhao Wuji obviously knew this soul beast. He waved his hand at everyone with a disgusted face and said, Okay, don't come over here, today is really unlucky. Just when I was about to take a rest, I encountered a big maggot, it's disgusting. Oscar looked at Zhao Wukai curiously. Mr. Zhao, you say this big guy is a maggot, how can a maggot grow so big? Seeing that someone was curious, Zhao Wuji was not stingy and spoke directly. This thing is called a Jedi maggot. It feeds on the excrement of that kind of large spirit beast all day long, so there is no spirit beast hunting it. This time, it will take the initiative to attack us. It probably treats us as intruders, and is afraid that we will rob rice fields with him. Let's eat. Sure enough, after hearing Zhao Wuji's words, Enning Rongrong and the other girls immediately showed expressions of disgust. They stopped approaching and quickly backed away. Hearing this, Yin Hao suddenly raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a smile. After activating the camouflage skill in the blue-silver domain, he opened Sharingan and raised his head to look at Yu Xiaogang not far ahead. Yu Xiaogang, who had just calmed down, was ready to express his agreement after hearing Zhao Wuji's explanation. But before the words came out, I just felt dizzy for a while, and the words became verbal. I think Teacher Zhao made a mistake. Chapter 78, Tang San's Third Soul Ring. I think Teacher Zhao is wrong. Following Yu Xiaorogang's voice, Zhao Wuji also showed a trace of dissatisfaction on his face. Yes, you have better theoretical knowledge than me, old Zhao, but I, old Zhao, have been in the Soul Master world for so many years and I don't know anything. If I can still admit my mistake to a small soul beast, then I, old Zhao, can't. no need to mess around. Before Zhao Wuji could say anything, he saw Yu Xiaogang slowly walking forward with his hands behind his back. Although this soul beast looks very similar to a Jedi maggot, it is not a real Jedi maggot, but a unique mutant soul beast called Dragon Maggot. Hearing Yu Xiaogang's words, Zhao Wuji was also stunned for a moment. If Yu Xiaogang said that this soul beast is not a Jedi maggot, then he can still refute it, but if it is a mutant, then he is right. I really don't understand this after all. Who would have nothing to do to understand a big maggot who can only eat rice fields? Seeing that Zhao Wuji didn't speak, Yu Xiaogang continued. This kind of mutant soul beast is not only very rare in number, but also contains a trace of dragon blood in its blood, which is very precious. The value of its soul ring is even more immeasurable. Then Yu Xiaogang turned his head and said to Tang San, "Zyro-san, it just so happens that this dragon maggot has reached the level of a 1,000-year soul beast, and its attributes are very suitable for you. Why don't you absorb the soul ring of this soul beast?" Tang San was about to nod after hearing Yu Xiaogang's words, when he was stopped by Zhao Wuji's loud shout. "Wait a minute, Master, I Lao Zhao am a very rough man. I am definitely incomparable to you in terms of theory." After hearing this half-sentence, Yu Xiaogang also raised the corners of his mouth and couldn't help but feel proud. Then the second half of Zhao Wuji's sentence came out again. "However, the absorption of this spirit ring is not a trivial matter after all. I think we'll talk about it after the Dean and the others come back." Zhao Wukai's worry is not aimless. After all, in his opinion, this is just an ordinary Jedi maggot. What kind of mutant? He hasn't even heard of it. Yin Hao also persuaded with good intentions. "Yes, Master, Mistress, Teacher Zhao is right. Absorbing the soul ring is a big deal. Let's wait until the Dean comes back." Unexpectedly, Yu Xiaogang flew into a rage after hearing what the two said. "Waiting for Flanders to come back. This dragon maggot will be dead by the time he comes back. Where can we find such a good spirit beast for Zyro-san?" Zhao Wuji frowned when he heard this, and instead of arguing with Yu Xiaogang, he looked at Tang San and said, "Little San, what do you think?" Tang San looked at Yu Xiaogang behind him, saw his serious face, then turned his head and said to Zhao Wuji, "Thank you, Teacher Zhao, for your concern. I believe in Teacher." Tang San said so. Zhao Wuji couldn't say anything. He could only ask Yu Xiaogang to take a closer look at this spirit beast. Don't make a mistake. As a result, Yu Xiaogang just glanced roughly, then waved his hand and said, "I'm pretty sure that this is the one-of-a-kind dragon maggot, Zyrosan. Prepare to absorb the soul ring." Said also handed Tang San a long knife. Tang San nodded, took the long knife and stabbed the big maggot lying on the ground. The dragon maggot suffered from pain and struggled, but was stabbed a few times by Tang San with quick hands and eyes. As a yellow liquid slowly flowed out from the big maggot's body, this dragon maggot also slowly stopped struggling, and after a while he stopped moving. As the yellow liquid flowed more and more, a suffocating stench filled the entire venue, causing everyone present to cover their noses. Yu Xiaogang seemed to have not smelled the stench, and said to Tang San calmly, "Zyrosan, absorb the soul ring." Tang San was also covering his mouth and nose at this time, although he was suspicious, but after hearing Yu Xiaogang's words, he still decided to trust him and absorb this spirit ring. Then Tang San sat cross-legged, summoning the spirit blue-silver grass, surrounded by 2 white spirit rings. Ever since the masked man used a strange method to suck away his soul ring age and soul power, his 2 soul rings that originally had a lifespan of 400 and 700 years have become the lowest level 10-year soul rings. Ringed. Under the pull of Tang San's soul power, the purple soul ring belonging to the dragon maggot also slowly moved closer to him, until it surrounded him. From an angle that no one could see, the corners of Yin Hao's mouth raised slightly. "You can't blame me for this, I advised you." As time slowly passed, Tang San's spirit ring absorbed everything smoothly, and the mist in Yu Xiaogang's eyes gradually disappeared, his brain regained clarity, and his eyes became brighter. As if he suddenly figured it out, Yu Xiaogang ran to the side of the dragon maggot, who was still emitting the stench. His whole face turned pale, and the corners of his mouth twitched unconsciously, as if he was talking to himself wearing something. At this time, everyone had already retreated dozens of meters away, because of the foul smell emanating from the big maggot. Zhao Wuji and others watched Yu Xiaogang, who was standing not far away, suddenly run towards the corpse of the big maggot, and then slapped at the big maggot, and sometimes jumped left and right, making him a little confused. Zyro Wu held Yin Hao's arm and said cautiously, "Master, what's the matter? Where are you going? Don't you think it stinks?" Enning Rongrong also took the words and said, "Yeah, how do you look at him? He seems quite excited. Even if you find a good spirit ring for Tang San, you don't have to be so excited, right?" Under everyone's gaze, Yu Xiaogang ran up to Tang San to make gestures, then ran to the side of the big maggot's corpse and kicked, and sat down on the ground from time to time and buried his head in the soil here. The strange behavior once made Zyro Wu and others wonder if the master was crazy. But no one stopped him. Finally, half an hour passed, and Tang San's aura gradually stabilized, and the purple spirit ring that was still floating became quiet, slowly melting into Tang San's body. It was also after seeing Tang San completely absorbing the spirit ring that Yu Xiaogang got up from the grass, but his face was lifeless and he looked stunned. Cole! After absorbing the spirit ring, Tang San breathed out a foul breath, but before he got up, he noticed Yu Xiaogang standing not far in front of him. Because of the stench surrounding him, Tang San couldn't bear it, so Tang San quickly stood up. "Teacher, the smell here is too bad, let's leave here first." After saying that, he walked to Yu Xiaogang and prepared to take him with him. Hearing Tang San's words, Yu Xiaogang stood still and didn't respond, as if he didn't hear it. Tang San was a little puzzled, couldn't help but glance at Yu Xiaogang strangely, and said again, "Teacher, let's get out of here first." This time, Yu Xiaogang finally reacted, turned his head to look at Tang San, then nodded, and followed Tang San to the place where Yin Hao and the others were. "Add one update for everyone today, and it will be on the shelves tomorrow. Please order first." Chapter 80 Tang San, Eat Me Blue Silver Shit. When they came in front of Yin Hao and the others, perhaps because the two of them stayed in the center of the smell for a long time, they also got a lot of smell on their bodies, causing Zyro Wu and the others to cover their noses one after another. Of course, Tang San also noticed the reactions of a few people, but as his old shadow, he would not show any dissatisfaction. But fortunately, Yin Hao still didn't mean to despise him, which moved Tang San a little bit. At this moment, Zhao Wukai spoke. "Little San, what is your third soul skill? Why don't you let it out and have a look?" Hearing Zhao Wuji's words, before Tang San could react, Yu Xiaogang's expression changed drastically. He stretched out his arm as if trying to stop him, but he opened his mouth and said nothing. Tang San hadn't fully experienced the spirit ability brought by his newly obtained dragon maggot spirit ring just now because of the smell on the field. After hearing Zhao Wuji's words, he also mobilized his soul power with a smile on his face, wanting to fully feel the soul skills brought by this one-of-a-kind soul ring. But the smile on his face lasted only a second before froze. Tang San glanced at Yu Xiaogang in disbelief and mobilized his spirit power to feel the spirit ring in his body again. Zhao Wuji was a little confused and said, "Little San, what's the problem?" Yin Hao also said with a smile, "It can't be that the soul skill is so good that you don't want to show it." Hearing Yin Hao's words, Tang San's expression was as if he had eaten 2 catties of aioli. It was extremely ugly. Yu Xiaogang couldn't bear it anymore and said, "Little San, I'm sorry, I didn't know what was going on before. See, I read it wrong." In a word, it attracted the attention of the audience. In the past, Yu Xiaogang could only bite the bullet and continue talking. Then, that's not a dragon maggot at all, that's a Jedi maggot that only eats rice fields. Zhao Wukai was also stunned. "I told you to look carefully after I persuaded you so much before, but you didn't listen at all." And Yin Hao was also shocked. How could this be the soul skill of Zyrosan? Tang San's face was very ugly, and after glancing at Yu Xiaogang complainingly, he still didn't say anything to blame. As a young man suffering from feudalism, Tang San really couldn't blame Yu Xiaogang, at least now, at least on the surface. At this moment, Dai Mubai and Ma Hongjun, who had been separated before, walked over, followed by Flender, Li Yusong and his party not far away. Right now Ma Hongjun's complexion was very bad, even darker than Tang San's. Dai Mubai's face was also livid, but if you observe carefully enough, you can still see that he seems to be a little confused, like a person straddling the gates of the old and new schools. If you take a step back, that is my original self. If I take a step forward, it will be like stepping into a new world. Everyone present knew what happened, so no one asked them stupidly. When Flender and the others approached and saw the huge Jedi maggot corpse, they were also slightly taken aback. However, the unpleasant smell in the air made him instinctively cover his nose and go around. In front of everyone, Flender spoke. "What's going on here? If I'm not mistaken, this is a Jedi maggot. You killed it." Hearing Flender's words, Tang San looked at Yu Xiaogang with more resentment in his eyes. Even the Dean and Mr. Zhao could recognize it at a glance. "You can admit your mistake." Yu Xiaogang was also very embarrassed, and directly ignored Flender's words, turning his head away as if he didn't hear it. Zhao Wuji didn't care that much, and opened his mouth to tell what happened from beginning to end. Then Flender looked at Yu Xiaogang with a face full of shock. "Xiaogang, how can you be careless about this matter? Why can't you wait until I come back?" "Yu Xiaogang is a little unhappy. It's fine for others to blame me, but you, Flender, as my good brother, you also blame me." Fortunately, Flender stopped talking after only a few words, and Yu Xiaogang didn't refute him. "Hey." Flender sighed softly, looked at Tang San and said, "Little San, you, don't blame your teacher, he is also for you." Tang San forced a smile, shook his head and said, "Principal, don't worry, I won't blame the teacher. We have a saying over there, people are not sages, they can do nothing, it's okay." Hearing Tang San's words, Yu Xiaogang was so moved that tears almost came down. "Good boy, what a good boy. It is not in vain that I have been so kind to you for so many years." Flender also nodded, obviously satisfied with Tang San's answer, and then spoke. "Anyway, things have already happened. Let's take a look at your third soul ability first." Tang San's complexion became ugly again, but he didn't say anything, just nodded. Then Yin Hao, Xiao, Enning Rongrong and others all moved out of the way, leaving Tang San with an open space enough for him to practice his soul skills. As Tang San summoned his blue-silver grass spirit, 3 spirit rings, 2 white and 1 purple, also appeared. Then the purple soul ring lit up. The third soul skill, blue and silver all over the sky. Following Tang San's breath, several stinking black blue-silver grass rose up from the ground, then rose rapidly, and exploded in the air about 4 or 5 meters above the ground. In an instant, the stench quickly spread throughout the entire venue, and the girls, Xiao Wu, Zhu Zhuqing and Enning Rongrong, frowned and covered their noses and backed away with disgust on their faces. But Yu Xiaogang seemed very excited. Not for anything else, just because the small pieces of blue-silver grass that exploded and were shaped like rice fields actually corroded into pits after falling to the ground, while the debris that fell on the trees. It directly corroded a hole in the big tree, and the inside of the tree quickly turned black, which shows the strong corrosive power. Tang San obviously didn't expect that this soul summoning skill would have such strong corrosive power, and his resentment towards Yu Xiaogang also instantly disappeared. It's a 1,000-year soul ring, and its power is really impressive. The corners of Tang San's mouth raised slightly, it seems. This spirit ability is not bad. Just a little. Smelling the stench in the air, Tang San couldn't help covering his nose. Although teachers such as Flanders and Zhao Wukai did not retreat out of dignity, they all covered their noses to prevent themselves from breathing the stench in the air. But Yu Xiaogang doesn't care. What does it matter whether it smells bad or not? He had been smoked by Liu Sanpao's farts for so many years, and he had already developed a considerable immunity to the stench. Then Yu Xiaogang also walked forward with excitement on his face, and pulled Tang San to study the blue-silver grass fragments hanging on the ground, and on the trees that looked the same as those in the rice field. Others, including Flender and the others, hid as far away as possible, and no one wanted to stay in this smelly area for a second. Chapter 81 Blue-Silver Forest. After Tang San absorbed the spirit ring, the Flender aerial reconnaissance plane went online again, and after 2 days of searching, it also found a suitable spirit ring for Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Mubai. It is worth mentioning that the soul ring found for Zhu Zhuqing was none other than Tang San's third soul ring in the original work. Although the age has exceeded the so-called maximum age of the third soul ring, proposed by Yu Xiaogang, Zhu Zhuqing, who had taken the immortal herbal medicine, still absorbed the soul ring very easily, and easily broke through to level 38 with the help of the accumulated medicinal power in the body. Enning Rongrong, who also took the grass jelly, became 4 levels higher, which shows the power of Acacia Broken Heart Red. And Zhu Zhuqing also obtained Tang San's external spirit bone, 8 spider lances, after absorbing the spirit ring in the original book, which aroused the eyes of the others. As for Zyro Wu, she accidentally got lost with the crowd, and accidentally found a seriously injured spirit beast suitable for her, and then successfully absorbed the spirit ring and rose to level 35. In the evening, when he returned to Shrek's dormitory, Dai Mubai, who was undressed, looked at his elegant self in the mirror and couldn't help sighing. I don't know if it's an illusion, but he felt that after absorbing the 4th soul ring, his body seemed to be more popular. For him now, without looking at the mere 1 or 2 inches below, who would have thought that he was a man? After pouring the bath water, Dai Mubai, who was soaking in the bath water with his eyes closed, couldn't help but think of what happened 2 days ago, and for some reason, even though it had been 2 days, that memory was still firmly imprinted on him in my mind. I can't get rid of it, even. Every time I think of it, I still have a strange feeling. And in the courtyard, except for Dai Mubai's absence, all the other Shrek people gathered here. It was rare for Flender to be generous, and bought a lot of ingredients out of his own pocket to celebrate the smooth completion of this soul ring acquisition operation. Yu Xiaogang and Tang San sat together, still discussing the development and use of Tang San's 3rd soul ability, Blue-Silver Manure, Blue-Silver Mansion. Zyro Wu, Enning Rongrong, Yin Hao, Zhu Zhuqing, Ma Hongjun, Oscar and other students sat in a circle, chatting wantonly. Flender, Zhao Wukai and other teachers also formed a circle, and sat not far from Yin Hao and the others. As for the soul sage of the food department, Xiao Xin undertook the job of preparing food for everyone. At this moment, Enning Rongrong, who was sitting opposite, seemed to think of something, took out an envelope from his body, and took out a shiny golden card from the envelope, handed it to Yin Hao and said, "Yin Hao, I told my family about the evolution of my martial soul before. My father and the others are very grateful to you. There is not much money here. It is considered as a thank you fee from them. In the letter, I specifically asked me to hand it over to you." Hearing Enning Rongrong's words, everyone on the field also cast their gazes. Yin Hao looked at the gold card in Enning Rongrong's hand, smiled and said, "I'm very grateful for Uncle Enning's kindness, but it's just a gift I gave you as a friend. It's really hard to accept Uncle Enning's thank you gift." Enning Rongrong also spoke. "It's different no matter what. You are very kind to our 7 treasure glazed tile school. If you don't want to charge a thank you fee, then you can also treat this card as a gift between friends." After finishing speaking, he didn't wait for Yin Hao to reply, and stuffed it directly into Yin Hao's hands. Originally, Yin Hao was just being polite, but now he is desperately short of money and land. How could he really not want it? Then Yin Hao picked up the gold card in his hand and said to Enning Rongrong, "Well, since that's the case, I won't refuse. Thank Uncle Enning for me." At this time, Xiao Xin, who had been busy grilling, shouted to the crowd, "Children, the meat is roasted, come and taste it." Hearing Xiao Xin's words, everyone stopped talking and gathered around. Another boring and useless training session. As a teacher, Yu Xiaogang made everyone run circles or carry stones every day, and prepared some medicinal baths for everyone from time to time, which was not very useful and troublesome. Of course, it is worth mentioning that as a teacher, Yu Xiaogang still ranked the 8 people including Yin Hao. The old man is naturally Dai Mubai, the oldest, but with his current image, people don't know whether to call him big brother or big sister. The 2nd child is Oscar, the 3rd child is Yin Hao, the 4th child is Tang San, the 5th child is Ma Hongjun, the 6th child is Zyro Wu, the 7th child is Enning Rongrong, and the youngest is Zhu Zhuqing. Yin Hao himself naturally wouldn't participate in this so-called special training, and directly released the 4th soul skill to let the blue-silver clone help him participate in this special training. And he himself was looking for a place to consolidate his cultivation, and then absorb the soul power of Yu Xiaogang and Tang San that had been absorbed in the system before. 3 months passed slowly. During these 3 months, Yin Hao spent most of his time cultivating. When he needed to participate in special training, he would let his avatar participate, and he would take his avatar back when it was time for rest. During these 3 months, Zhu Zhuqing also often asked Yin Hao out at night, and then Yin Hao would faint inexplicably. As for what happened afterwards, then Yin Hao doesn't know. After the 3-month first stage of special training was completed, because Yu Xiaogang was very satisfied with the training results of everyone, he gave everyone a 7-day vacation. Yin Hao also left Shrek again after greeting everyone at this time. 2 days later in a forest, 2 figures, one red and one blue, shuttled between the trees. Nihong glanced at Yin Hao helplessly, but after thinking about it, she couldn't help but speak. "Brother Hao, what are you looking for? This is already the 7th forest we have been looking for." Yin Hao was also a little helpless. He had no choice. The original work did not explain the exact location of the blue-silver forest, and he could only search the forests in the Tianda Empire from big to small according to his own guess. Yin Hao naturally wouldn't tell the truth, so he could only speak. "I don't know what I'm looking for, but there is a voice in my body telling me to find a forest full of blue-silver grass." At this moment, Yin Hao suddenly felt a strange feeling, and then a voice sounded in his mind. "Wang, great king, is it really you? You finally came to me, thank God." The corner of Yin Hao's mouth raised slightly. He looked at Nihong and said, "Sister Nihong, we're here." Afterwards, without explaining to her, following the guidance from his own heart, he began to walk slowly inside. As Yin Hao went deeper, more and more wonderful feelings began to pour into Yin Hao's body from the ground. To be precise, it was the wonderful signal sent by the blue-silver grass on the ground, which seemed to express their excitement. Swaying and dancing, each blue-silver grass is expressing their excited mood in their own way. Although Nihong didn't know what Yin Hao was going to do, she didn't ask any more questions, and just followed Yin Hao closely to protect his safety. As the two of them went deeper, the blue-silver grass on the ground also evolved from the outermost ordinary soul beasts to 10-year soul beasts, 100-year soul beasts, 1,000-year soul beasts, and even 10,000-year soul beasts. The more Nihong looked at it, the more frightened she became. She never expected that the usually inconspicuous blue-silver grass would have so many soul beasts that have grown to a 1,000-year or 10,000-year level. A few times she even wanted to pull Yin Hao around and run away, for no reason, just because she was inside so many soul beast herds. Even if she was a titled Duluo, she didn't feel safe. But she finally held back, and she was surprised to find that every blue-silver grass here seemed to be welcoming Yin Hao in its own way. Chapter 82, the 5th soul ring. Wherever Yin Hao passed by, the blue-silver grass on both sides still saluted Yin Hao like a human being. This also made Nihong very curious, besides being shocked. Why Brother Hao could be worshipped by this group of blue and silver grasses? Could it be that he is also a transformed soul beast? But this idea was rejected by her as soon as it came up. As we all know, before a transformed soul beast reaches adulthood, it can be easily seen through by titled Duluo, and Yin Hao's cultivation is only at the 50th level of the Fourth Ring Soul Sect. How could he escape her eyes? Not long after, the two finally came to the core area of the forest, and Yin Hao also stopped. Directly ahead, a huge plant comes into view. The slender vines climbed up, tangled up to about 10 meters in the air. It looked like a special plant composed of countless vines condensed together. The whole body is clear blue, and the skin is shining with a special crystal. Around it, the blue-silver grass grows exceptionally luxuriantly. Each of the vines has the thickness of an ordinary person's waist and is more than a foot in diameter. At this moment, it was swaying slightly. In the middle of the vines, where the condensation was, there was a mark that looked like a human face. At this time, its expression seemed to be smiling. As the human face on the vine opened its mouth, a human voice came out of its mouth. "Kings, you are finally here." Hearing the big vine in front of her speak, Nihong was startled and hurried forward to block Yin Hao behind her. Her soul power mobilized, and even a dark red flame attached to her body appeared. When Yin Hao saw this, he quickly stopped him. "Wait, Sister Nihong, it doesn't mean me badly, it's the one that recruited me." Hearing Yin Hao's words, Nihong was stunned for a moment, then glanced suspiciously at the strange vines not far away, and then took half a step back a bit, getting out of Yin Hao's position. However, the flame of soul power still burning on her body indicates that she is still very vigilant. Yin Hao walked forward slowly, looked at the strange, human face made of countless vines in front of him, and said, "Are you the one calling me?" The vine human face seemed very excited, and a smile appeared on his face unconsciously. "Yes, great king, it is I who call you. There has been a voice in my body guiding me to find this place, but it didn't tell me what I need to do after I find it. Can you tell me? Of course there was no sound. This was just a lie told by Yin Hao to Nihwang. However, after hearing Yin Hao's words, the blue-silver king on the opposite side was obviously stunned for a moment, but he still spoke. King, I don't know what the sound is, but I can feel that you have a more noble blood in your body than mine, and you are the king of my blue and silver clan. As your eternal subordinate, we will always guard you. Are you willing to protect your subjects forever? Of course I would. Without the slightest hesitation, Yin Hao made the promise directly, without any intention of continuing to ask. Promise is the cheapest thing in the world. If you give it, you will give it, so what is it? After getting Yin Hao's decisive answer, 2 drops of blue liquid flowed down from the eyes of the blue-silver king's face. It's been almost 20 years, and I haven't felt His Majesty's breath. Today, we are finally no longer children without a mother. Your Majesty, please feel the worship of your subjects. As soon as the words fell, an incomparably huge aura suddenly rose up. It didn't come from the blue-silver king in front of him, but from the entire forest. A faint blue brilliance emerges quietly from every blue-silver grass. A single blue-silver grass may be just a small blue light spot, but when the blue light from billions of blue-silver grass condenses together, that it is a blue ocean. Seeing this scene, the corners of Yin Hao's mouth rose, and he quickly sat cross-legged to accept the energy that filled the sky. Afterwards, the blue-silver Emperor Martial Soul appeared automatically, and the 4 soul rings of purple, purple, purple and black also surrounded Yin Hao, and even the blue-silver domain continued to expand outward until it covered the entire blue-silver forest. The energy from the sky began to pour into Yin Hao's body crazily, and as time passed, it quickly transformed into a new blue soul ring next to Yin Hao. Time passed slowly, and the energy in the soul ring became stronger and stronger. The original blue color faded, and black covered it. It seemed that a critical point had been reached. Yin Hao frowned, and the speed at which the soul ring absorbed energy gradually slowed down. Suddenly, another force surged out of Yin Hao's body, and the blue armor instantly covered his body. The originally idle energy seemed to have a new outlet, and began to pour into the armor frantically. The blue energy, the blue armor, the coercion of the armor becomes stronger as the energy enters. Dozens of barbs with cold light grew from the 2 arms, which looked very sharp. A blue battle robe also appeared on the back with the evolution of the armor, moving with the wind, majestic. The blue-silver field has evolved again and reached the 3rd stage. Time passed by, and Nihwang, who was waiting not far away, was still maintaining a high level of vigilance. It seemed that as long as there was any change in the uncle with a human face in front of her, she would immediately take action, using a phoenix flame teach it how to make grass. But fortunately, it didn't change anything. It was just continuously pouring energy into Yin Hao's body. Although Nihwang couldn't directly observe Yin Hao's condition now, he could feel Yin Hao's aura was rising steadily. It seemed that it had reached its limit. The energy surrounding Yin Hao was no longer injected into the soul ring, but entered Yin Hao's body to transform his physique. 1 minute, 5 minutes, and 3 hours passed slowly. As Yin Hao spit out a mouthful of turbid air, the matter of energy absorption also came to an end. Yin Hao opened his eyes, and a transparent light curtain appeared in front of him. The system panel is open. Host Yin Hao. Martial Spirit, the 1st Martial Spirit. Blue-Silver Emperor 2nd Martial Spirit. Sharing and kaleidoscopic. Soul Power Level 53. Chinese letter, 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 Chinese letter. 5,000 Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. 500 Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. 500 Chinese letter, Chinese letter, 1 Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. 5,000 Chinese letter. 2nd Martial Spirit, Black 5 years, Black 5 years. Soul Bone, External Soul Bone, Ice Dragon Armor, can grow. Bloodline, Blue-Silver Emperor Bloodline, 49%, awakened. Assets, Golden Soul Coin 120. Combining the soul power of the people in the system warehouse previously traded, plus the energy from the blue-silver grass just obtained, Yin Hao's soul power has also reached level 53. The Soul King, who was just 13 years old by 2 months, not to mention Tang Hao, the youngest titled Duluo on the bright side. Even in the entire history of Duluo, there may not necessarily be a younger Soul King than Yin Hao. Yin Hao stood up, and the energy around him also dissipated. Not far away, Nihwang saw Yin Hao get up and hurried forward. Chapter 83: The Strange Daimyo. Brother Hao, how do you feel? Are you all right? Yin Hao shook his head, then looked at the Blue Silver King and said, Thank you. It is we who should thank you. It is your appearance that awakens our stronger vitality. The soul ring you have obtained now is condensed by me according to the limit that your body can bear. According to human beings, your spirit ring is roughly equivalent to what a 5,000-year spirit beast can appear. It does not come from the outside world, but from yourself. It will evolve as your own endurance increases. Whenever you are when you are in the world of the people, it will change according to your body. Afterwards, Yin Hao and Nihwang stayed in the blue-silver forest for another day to consolidate their newly raised cultivation. And Nihwang is also inseparable from Yin Hao during this day, and Yin Hao can clearly feel the genuine care and love. After leaving the blue-silver forest, Yin Hao did not stay any longer and returned directly to Shrek Academy. Not long after Yin Hao left, in Shrek Academy, Ma Hongjun sat on the seat with a bruised nose and a swollen face. Oscar and Tang San sat opposite him. At this time, Ma Hongjun was angrily telling Tang San and the two opposite, while patting the table twice from time to express his anger. Even Tang San and the two sitting opposite him showed an angry expression. At this moment, Yin Hao, who had just returned to Shrek, walked in. Seeing Yin Hao's return, Ma Hongjun immediately stood up excitedly, running towards Yin Hao like a huge meatball. Yin Hao quickly took 2 steps back and raised his hand to stop him. Ma Hongjun, who was stopped, didn't care and said with snot and tears, Brother Hao's, you are back. I was bullied. Although Yin Hao knew what was going on, he still pretended to be ignorant and asked, What's wrong? Who bullied you? Then, just like the original work, Ma Hongjun recounted his tragic experience in the chicken coop, and also emphasized that the wretched uncle actually used his finger to flick that place, which had a huge psychological impact on him. Then he wiped his nose and tears again, crying and calling for Yin Hao to avenge him. Yin Hao, who was his good brother, also immediately showed anger. Yin Hao slapped the table and said angrily, How unreasonable, the bully actually bullied my brother. Go, fatty, I will avenge you. Ma Hongjun's face was full of emotion. He was about to take Yin Hao to leave when he heard Oscar, sitting beside him, speak. I am coming too. Ma Hongjun was stunned for a moment, then glanced at Oscar gratefully, and then turned his attention to Tang San, who had not yet spoken. Originally, Tang San didn't want to participate. If he had the time to avenge him, he might as well practice hard. I don't know why, but his cultivation speed during this period has been getting slower and slower. If this continues, it will take years and months to reach the Soul Sect. But there were only a few people on the field. They all went, and now they turned their attention to him. Even though Tang San was thick-skinned, he didn't have the nerve to refuse. He nodded and said he would go with them. Just when several people were about to leave, Oscar spoke again. Then, shall we call Boss Dai? Several people thought about it, then nodded, and then walked towards Dai Mubai's dormitory together. I don't know why, as long as there is no class recently, Dai Mubai will go back to the dormitory and won't come out. He even asked the headmaster to change to a single dormitory, and he doesn't know what he is doing there. Coming to the door of Dai Mubai's dormitory, Yin Hao knocked on the door. Mubai, are you there? As soon as Yin Hao's voice came out, there was a rustling sound from inside, and then Dai Mubai's voice also came out. Yes, wait a minute, I'll come out right away. Then there was another sound inside, and Yin Hao could faintly hear the sound of water. 5 minutes later, the door to the dormitory was finally opened by Dai Mubai. His face seemed to be a little wet, and the hair on his forehead was also gathered into small clumps because of the water. After seeing Yin Hao, Dai Mubai smiled, and a crisp female voice came out of his mouth. How are you back? Before Yin Hao could reply, Oscar couldn't help himself. I said, Boss Dai, what's your situation? Why did it take so long to open the door? Hearing Oscar's words, Dai Mubai seemed a little flustered. His eyes unconsciously glanced at other places, and then he opened his mouth to explain. I was just sleeping, without clothes, so. No clothes. Ma Hongjun's eyes lit up after hearing Dai Mubai's words. he looked Dai Mubai up and down. Much better than those pheasants in the grass nest. Ba ba ba, what are you thinking? Ma Hongzhen hurriedly interrupted his thoughts, feeling a chill in his heart. What would he think about Boss Dai? Huh. Is that so? After hearing Dai Mubai's explanation, Oscar no longer doubted, but walked towards the house. Dai Mubai saw this and quickly raised his hand to stop him. This made Oscar look at Dai Mubai with some doubts, wondering why he blocked him. As if aware of his inappropriate behavior, Dai Mubai hastily explained. My room is a bit messy, so. Before he finished speaking, Ma Hongzhen, who was wearing a pig's head, walked directly inside. Dai Mubai is not easy to stop, he can only let a few people come in. The room was tidy, even smelled of some perfume, no messy clothes or anything like that. Yin Hao looked around and saw a basin under the window with a small half of water in it and some white oily objects floating on the water. At this moment, Tang San bent down to pick up a small translucent bottle from the ground and said, What is this? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to Infinite Novel Audio. In an instant, everyone's eyes were attracted. In the past, Dai Mubai also looked over, his pupils contracted slightly, but he didn't show any panic. He just walked forward with a smile and took the bottle over and said, The cosmetics I bought for the girl in Soto City haven't been sent to her yet. As he spoke, he casually placed the small bottle on the table beside him. Tang San had no doubts and just nodded. On the contrary, Ma Hongzhen said with a smile, Boss Dai, you're like this and you still want to pick up girls. Even if you pick up girls, would you be in front or her? Ha ha ha. Hearing Ma Hongzhen's unscrupulous laughter, Dai Mubai froze for a moment, and his face gradually darkened. Of course Ma Hongzhen also noticed this, and hastily shut his mouth, no longer laughing at him. 4 updates plus the one added yesterday is enough for words. Is it interesting enough? Chapter 84. Yin Hao stepped forward and said, Mubai, we came to you this time for something. Dai Mubai asked curiously. What's wrong? Did something happen? Yin Hao pointed at Ma Hongzhen's pig head and said, Look at Hongzhen's appearance now. Dai Mubai glanced at Ma Hongzhen, saw that his face was bruised and purple, and swollen very high like a pig's head. He wanted to ask just now, but he hadn't had time to ask. Now Yin Hao proposed it. Dai Mubai also expressed his doubts. What happened to the fat man who hit him? Afterwards, Ma Hongzhen told Dai Mubai again what he said twice before with tears in his eyes. Sure enough, Dai Mubai also flew into a rage after hearing this, pinching his slender waist and said, Dare to bully my brother Dai Mubai, the evil-eyed white tiger. I think that guy is looking for death if he is unhappy. Let's go and get revenge. Under the leadership of Ma Hongzhen, several people came to the chicken coop where he often came. This is a remote corner of Soto City. The bungalow in front of us is only more than 3 meters high, and it looks like it has been damaged in many places. There are several pink lanterns hanging at the door, and under the lanterns stand a few women with heavy makeup, who are obviously not young, selling to passers-by. The corner of Yin Hao's mouth twitched, and he spoke. Fat man, your taste is quite strong. Ma Hongzhen was a little embarrassed and said, Isn't there no money? It's cheap here. The price is cheap and the quantity is plentiful. 1 silver coin can be used once and 2 silver coins can be used 3 times. It is cost-effective. Moreover, you must believe that there is also a reason for the golden phoenix in the grass nest. It depends on luck. Hearing Ma Hongzhen's words, the corners of Oscar's mouths twitched unconsciously. They don't want this kind of stuff for nothing, but Ma Hongzhen can really do it. While the few people were chatting, one was dark-skinned, a little over 1.6 meters tall, with a somewhat contented lewd smile on his face. His right hand was wrapped in gauze, and his lower body was wearing a pair of big underpants with several holes. A middle-aged man with a pair of flip-flops came out from inside. It's him who beat me like this. With just one glance, Ma Hongzhen recognized Bula and immediately became very excited. Yin Hao and the others looked at each other. After all, it's not convenient to do it here in the urban area. It's better to lure him outside. How to lead? Oscar and the others cast their gazes instantly. Yin Hao looked at Dai Mubai and said, Mubai, how about, do you feel aggrieved again for the sake of your brother? Unexpectedly, Dai Mubai didn't show any displeasure this time. He just thought for a while and then nodded and walked up. Although he is dressed in men's clothing, but with his proud twin peaks, straight buttocks, coupled with the relatively short hair and delicate facial features he has grown up in the past few months, he looks more feminine than a woman, and no one at all would suspect that this is actually a man. I don't know if it's a disguise or what. Dai Mubai walks with twists and turns, matched with his protruding figure. Just one glance, the old color embryo is so unhappy that he can't move his eyes away. Seeing that Dai Mubai didn't intend to stop, Buell quickly took 2 steps to stop him. Beauty, what are you going to do? Why don't you talk to your brother? Maybe he can help you. Dai Mubai stopped and looked at Buzai with clear eyes. He then brushed the hair around his ears with his hands and stretched out his fingers to curl them slightly, as if he was thinking about whether to accept the help of the person in front of him. Seeing this scene, the unhappy heart almost flew away. This thing is the best. Seems to have thought it over, Dai Mubai said. Well, I wanted to go to the Wanshanlu Hotel, but I couldn't find it. If my brother can help me find it, I will definitely thank him. Hearing a sweet voice calling his elder brother, he felt ashamed. He didn't care about the restaurant. He just wanted to put this little beauty under his body, and then he spoke directly. Okay, brother will take you there, brother will take you there. After hearing Buhui's words, Dai Mubai showed a sweet smile. Then trouble, brother, no trouble, no trouble. After saying that, Bula walked forward and wanted to hold Dai Mubai's hand. Dai Mubai dodged a little, but still didn't dodge, and let him lead him forward. On the other side, Oscar and the others looked dumbfounded. Oscar said stupidly, "How do I feel? Boss Dai pretends to be a woman, so natural." Tang San also nodded. Oscar spoke again. "What do you think, fat man?" After calling again, there was no response, so Oscar called again. "Fat man. Okay." Only then did Ma Hongjun come back to his senses, raised his hand to wipe the drool from the corner of his mouth, and looked towards Oscar. "What are you looking at? You're even drooling." "May." Ma Hongjun hesitated for a long time without explaining why. Fortunately, Yin Hao saved him. "Okay, stop chatting. Mubai and the others are already going far away. We should follow up." Bula took Dai Mubai's hand, looked at Dai Mubai with eyes full of greed from time to time, licked the corner of his mouth lightly, wondering what was going on in his heart. Dai Mubai, on the other hand, has outstanding acting skills. He looks here and there from time to time, like an ignorant little girl who is curious about everything around her. As the road went further and further, the surrounding environment also changed. It was no longer the feasting of Soto City, but turned into a farmland and vegetable fields. As for the pedestrians who used to come and go, none of them could be seen here. Bula glanced around to make sure there was no one, and finally showed his fangs. "Hey, little beauty, you look so beautiful." I don't know why, when he heard that Bula used the way of praising women to praise himself, Dai Mubai now not only didn't mean to get angry, but even felt a little joy. But the scene that should be acted is still eye-catching. I saw Dai Mubai suddenly turned pale, covered his mouth with his small hand, and looked at Bula in horror. "You, what are you going to do? Didn't you say that you want to take me to the Wanshanlu Hotel? What is this place?" Seeing Dai Mubai like this, Bula became even more excited, and the smile on his face became even more obscene. Yes, I want to take you there, but I didn't say when I would take you there. When I'm done, my brother will definitely send you there, okay?" As he spoke, he stretched out his hands to hug Dai Mubai's slender waist. Dai Mubai didn't use his soul power to resist. He explained to himself that using soul power now would be easy to scare off the enemy. If he ran away, all his previous efforts would be wasted. But when the unhappy salty pig's arms hugged his waist, Dai Mubai was still in a state of mind. A strange feeling rose in his heart. Chapter 85, The First Soul Skill, Coil. At this moment, a sudden change occurred, and a piece of blue-silver grass suddenly rose from the ground and wrapped around Bulu's leg. Bula was shocked and turned pale. He quickly released the waist of the little beauty in front of him and mobilized his soul power to break the blue-silver grass on his legs. "Who?" I don't know why, when seeing Tang San and Yin Hao rushing over, Dai Mubai was still a little bit disappointed. But it was only for a moment. and he still remembered the purpose of coming here. While Bula's attention was on Tang San, he quickly mobilized his soul power and possessed the white tiger spirit. Then his second soul ring lit up, and a white light wave hit Bula in front of him. Because the distance was too close, Bula didn't have time to react at all, and was sent flying at that time. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Bula looked at the little beauty, who had been at his disposal before with shock in his eyes. Unexpectedly, he turned out to be a soul sect with a standard soul ring configuration. At this moment, Yin Hao and others slowly gathered around Bula, who was still lying on the ground. Bula wanted to struggle, but before he could get up, he was tied up tightly by the blue-silver emperor summoned by Yin Hao. Looking at Yin Hao's 5 soul rings around him, Bula swallowed and gave up the thought of struggling. Also shocked by the number of Yin Hao's soul rings were Tang San and the others. Tang San pointed at Yin Hao's 5th soul ring and said, "Brother Hao, are you the Soul King?" Yin Hao smiled at him. "Luck, it's just luck. This is not luck, and I would like to thank you and Teacher Nai for bringing so much soul power to me." Hearing Yin Hao's modest words, Tang San couldn't help feeling sour, and he didn't know what was going on. Now his cultivation speed was getting slower and slower, even less than half of the previous speed. Turning his gaze to Bula again, at this time he was still not as vigorous as before. Being tied to the ground by the blue-silver emperor, he couldn't stop begging for mercy. "Brothers and sisters, please spare me, I won't dare anymore." When hearing the word big sister, Oscar couldn't help but glance at Daimubai, but he trampled on it without any reaction, so he didn't say anything. Ma Hongjun stepped forward, condescendingly looking down at the unhappiness on the ground. "Do you remember me?" Bula was stunned for a moment, and after taking a closer look, he revealed a smile that was uglier than crying. "This old man, I am blind and dare to provoke you. Please forgive me for a while, I will never dare again." Ma Hongjun raised the corners of his mouth and said, "It's okay to forgive you, but you beat me like this, so you have to give me some explanation." Hearing Ma Hongjun's words, Bula instinctively felt bad, but still bit the bullet and asked, what to explain?" Ma Hongjun's smile became more and more obscene, and he summoned a ray of flame to attach to his hand, looking towards an unhappy place. Tell me, you will know soon." After saying that, he threw down the flame in his hand, and something unhappy was instantly ignited. As severe pain came from somewhere, Bula also started to cry loudly. Oscar couldn't bear to look at it unhappy, while Tang San just glanced around without any reaction. As for Daimubai, he looked at the burning place where Bula was burning. A trace of pity flashed in his eyes, but he didn't show it. After a while, the flame went out, and Bula also fainted from the pain. Yin Hao looked at Bula on the ground, took out 2 bottles of burn medicine from the ring and threw them on Bula, and then said to everyone, "Let's go." At the same time, a voice also sounded in Yin Hao's mind. "Congratulations to the host for trading 2 bottles of burn medicine to obtain Bula's 4th soul ring with a lifespan of 200 years. Do you want to claim it?" Back at the academy, he bumped into Zyro Wu, Enning Rongrong, and Zhu Xuqing head-on. After seeing Yin Hao, Zyro Wu's face was instantly filled with a smile. She didn't care about Enning Rongrong and Zhu Xuqing beside her, and ran forward quickly to hang on Yin Hao. "Brother Hao." Yin Hao touched Zyro Wu's head and said with a smile, "Okay, come down quickly, there are still people watching." Zyro Wu raised her head to look at Enning Rongrong behind her, then at Tang San and the others beside Yin Hao, then buried her head in Yin Hao's chest again. "Just watch, what's the big deal?" Yin Hao had no choice but to let her hang on to him. Then Enning Rongrong and Zhu Xuqing also came forward to greet Yin Hao. "Yin Hao, are you back?" Yin Hao nodded with a smile. "During this period, Zyro Wu has caused trouble for you again." Enning Rongrong waved her hands quickly. "Don't say that, she didn't cause us any trouble, except she was clamoring to find you every day." Zyro Wu was obviously older than the 2 of them when they were ranked according to age, but in the end she acted like a younger sister, always asking for their attention. Hearing Enning Rongrong's words, Zyro Wu said shyly, "It's Rongrong." Enning Rongrong didn't care what she thought, and said with a teasing face, Why aren't you shouting every day? Why doesn't Brother Hao come back? And why don't you let us talk now? After listening to Enning Rongrong's words, Zyro Wu simply stopped talking to her, buried her face in Yin Hao's arms again, and stopped answering. Zhu Zhuqing stood beside him with a cold face, looking at Zyro Wu with a hint of displeasure in his eyes. Dai Mubai stood next to Yin Hao awkwardly. He hadn't seen Zhu Zhuqing for several days, mainly because he didn't know what to say when he saw her. Now meeting her here also made Dai Mubai a little embarrassed. Fortunately, Zhu Zhuqing didn't mean to talk to him, and he avoided a lot of embarrassment. Tang San said wisely, "Well, Brother Hao, I still have to go to the teacher, so I'll leave first." Yin Hao nodded. Oscar wanted to say a few words to Enning Rongrong, but seeing Enning Rongrong and Yin Hao chatting, he couldn't get a word in, so he had no choice but to shut up and leave. And Dai Mubai couldn't stay any longer. If it was in the past, he would definitely try to chat with Zhu Zhuqing, begging for her forgiveness, but now, even if she forgives him, what's the point? After a few people left, Zhu Zhuqing, who had been silent, spoke. "What did you do? No one has been seen for so many days." Yin Hao did not hide anything, and told several people his previous explanation for dealing with Nihuang, and then briefly talked about the blue-silver forest, which made several people amazed. As a 10-year-old rogue rabbit incarnation, Zyro Wu naturally knew more than Zhu Zhuqing and others, but after thinking about it, she still didn't say anything. Then Yin Hao chatted with a few people at the door for a while, and then walked inside the college. Zhu Zhuqing and Enning Rongrong continued walking towards Soto City. Originally, Zyro Wu was going to follow the two of them, but who met Yin Hao halfway, so he left the girls' team unjustly and followed Yin Hao. Chapter 86. 2 days later, Yu Zirogang's 5-day holiday for everyone ended. After breakfast, everyone gathered on the playground again. This time Yin Hao did not choose to let the avatar replace him, but chose to come in person. When everyone arrived, Yu Zyro just walked up slowly with her hands behind her back. "It has been 3 months since I came here to teach you. With the supervision and help of all the teachers, your body has already laid some foundations, but if you want to become an excellent soul master, you must still not enough." After Yu Zyrogang babbled a lot of useless nonsense, he also announced the training task of the second stage, that is, everyone must get the Silver Duluo badge and the group Silver Duluo. Came to the Great Soul Arena, led by the staff of the Soul Arena to the lounge. Seeing Yu Zyrogang standing with his hands behind his back not far in front of him, Oscar couldn't help complaining. "Master, it's fine if you let other people get their personal Silver Duluo badge. Rongrong and I are assistants. What should we do? Or you can choose to train as before, until the others get the Silver Fighting Spirit badge." Oscar was momentarily at a loss for words. The previous training, carrying rocks or running, tired to death every day, he doesn't want to do it again. Seeing that he was silent, Yu Zyrogang continued. "Enning Rongrong didn't even complain about a single girl, so what are you complaining about, a big man?" Now it was Oscar's turn to be dissatisfied. He glanced at Enning Rongrong, who was watching the excitement, then pointed at Yin Hao and said, "Of course she doesn't have to worry. She has already formed a team with Brother Hao. With Brother Hao taking her to participate in the 2v2 soul fighting, are you afraid that you won't get Silver Duluo?" What Yu Zyrogang said made Yu Zyrogang startled. He ignored Oscar, but looked at Yin Hao and said, "Zyro Hao, have you teamed up with Rongrong?" Yin Hao didn't deny it and nodded directly. "Yes." Then Yu Zyrogang nodded and said in a tone almost commanding, "You better go team up with Mubai, don't team up with her." Enning Rongrong didn't expect to eat melons and eat her. She didn't have a good temper, so she stood up and said, "Why?" Yu Zyrogang seemed to have anticipated her opinion and said lightly, "Zyro Hao is already a member of the Soul Sect. If you pair up with him, you can only fight at the level of the Soul Sect." Before Yu Zyrogang finished speaking, Yin Hao interrupted him. "That, Master, I'm already the Soul King." "Soul King?" Yu Zyrogang was stunned for a moment. A hint of disbelief flashed in his eyes. "A Soul King who is less than 12 years old, don't say see you. He hasn't even heard of it. Look at my disciples, still struggling with the Soul Master." "Hey, why didn't you choose to take Yin Hao as your apprentice?" But Yu Zyrogang would not show this emotion on his face, but continued to talk to Enning Rongrong. Since Xiaohao is already the Soul King, even if you team up with him, you can only fight opponents at the Soul King level. How much do you think you can help Xiaohao in the 2v2 Soul fighting at the Soul King level? Enning Rongrong was momentarily at a loss for what Yu Xiaogang said and didn't know how to refute. Fortunately, Yin Hao rescued her. Don't worry, master, I have confidence in my strength, and Rongrong's support ability is very strong, I believe her. Yin Hao smiled at Enning Rongrong while talking. Enning Rongrong looked at Yin Hao with some emotion. Thank you, brother Hao. Hearing Enning Rongrong's address, Yin Hao was slightly taken aback, but he immediately came to his senses and nodded with a smile. Yu Xiaogang wanted to say something, but was blocked by Yin Hao. Master, if you don't believe me, why don't you talk about it after we finish fighting the soul? After hearing Yin Hao's words, Yu Xiaogang didn't say anything, turned around and left without any reaction. And Enning Rongrong also slowly walked to Yin Hao's side after Yu Xiaogang left, looked into his eyes and said cautiously, Brother Hao, otherwise, you should go and team up with Dai Mubai, you are already the Soul King, I may not be able to help you. Yin Hao raised 2 fingers and put them 1 centimeter in front of Enning Rongrong's lips, blocking her unfinished words. Don't doubt yourself, don't even dare to try, I will look down on you. Hearing Yin Hao's words, Enning Rongrong also swallowed the second half of the words that came to his lips, and then nodded gratefully. Afterwards, Oscar had no choice but to find Ma Hongjun, who was as unwanted as him, and formed a team. You decide how to participate in the soul fight. This is for you, no one will be with you, so take it with you during the soul fight. At the same time, don't talk too much when you are on stage. Try not to let your opponent know your age. While talking, Yu Xiaogang took out 7 prepared masks from his soul tool bracelet. Everyone nodded and took the mask over. When participating in team battles, you will fight as a combination of the 8 Shrek monsters. When participating in individual soul fighting, you will choose the title of 2-on-2. In 1-on-1, I thought of a nickname for each of you. Just use this nicknames for a competition. As long as you explain it when you sign up, your real names will not appear in the soul fighting arena. Everyone didn't refute, and they all opened their mouths to find a suitable title for themselves. The Evil-Eyed White Tiger Dai Mubai. Sausage Monopoly Oscar. Thousand-Hand Shura Tang San. The Evil Fire Phoenix Ma Hongjun. The Tender and Charming Rabbit Zyro Wu. 9 Treasures Glazed Enning Rongrong. Zhu King the Ghost Civet. Yin Hao, son of Xuanghua. It's really useless to name it. If you want to scold, scold it. Xuanghua is taken from White Clothes Dyed with Frost, Linghua Tears and Cinnabar. Night Falls. The Suoto Great Soul Arena repeated the excitement every night. Bustling crowds began to gather here from all directions. As the most traditional and most popular entertainment, there are many spectators here every day. Due to Yin Hao's reason, Zyro Wu and Zhu King, who originally teamed up with Tang San, formed a team, and their opponents in the original book also became the opponents of Zyro Wu and Zhu King. As the number of people increased, the voice of the host on the stage also came. Next, let's invite the opponents of the mailing combination, the cat and mouse combination that has won 4 consecutive victories in the 2-on-2 soul fighting. With their strong strength, they have won an unprecedented victory in the Soul Master level competition. Success. If they can defeat today's opponents, the Phantom combination, then they will complete a 5-match winning streak. Perhaps the next time they appear in the Soto Great Soul Arena, they will enter the Central Spirit fighting area. Then it is a great honor for a soul fighter. The mailing combination is the name of the combination of Zyro Wu and Zhu King. Chapter 87. Following the voice of the host on the stage, Zyro Wu and Zyro Wu, who had already finished their preparations, also stood up. Brother Hao, I'm going up first. Zyro Wu greeted Yin Hao with a smile, without any nervousness due to the competition. Yin Hao nodded and said with a smile, Okay, then come on. Then he turned his head to look at Zhu King and said, Zhu King, you work hard too. After hearing Yin Hao's words, Zhu King showed a smile on his cold face, nodded and did not reply. Several other people also came forward and said a few words of encouragement. Only Dai Mubai sat awkwardly on his seat and did not come forward. Even when Zhu King glanced over, he deliberately avoided talking to her. Look at each other. After a few words of politeness to everyone, Zyro Wu and Zhu Zhuqing didn't wait long. They turned around and walked towards the soul-fighting platform. Looking at the backs of the two leaving, Yin Hao couldn't help sighing. He always felt that Zhu Zhuqing looked at him more and more now, like looking at his prey. Even Yin Hao felt that if it wasn't for his high level of soul power, Zhu Zhuqing would have dared to kidnap him and hide him in a place that only she knew. Following the burst of cheers from the scene, Zhu Zhuqing and Zyro Wu stepped onto the soul fighting stage, and on the opposite side were their opponents this time, two soul masters, a male and a female. The woman is slender and looks to be in her 20s. She has short, eye-catching red hair, sharp eyes, and her hands and fingers are constantly moving slightly. Not only was the man short in stature, but he was also very fat. His figure was much more exaggerated than Ma Hongjun's. The whole person looked like a big round ball. Both the head and the body were perfectly round. Only the pair of squinted small eyes give people the feeling of a mouse. The cat and mouse duo stepped onto the soul fighting stage and were naturally observing Zhu Zhuqing and Zyro Wu on the opposite side. When they saw the masks on the faces of Zhu Zhuqing and Zyro Wu, they couldn't help but be stunned. Although some soul masters who participate in soul fighting will hide their identities, it is still rare to see people wearing masks like this. The skinny cat girl snorted disdainfully, hiding one's head and showing one's tail, pretending to be mysterious. There was no verbal exchange between the two parties. As the host started, the cat and mouse combination activated their soul power at the same time, and their bodies underwent rapid transformation. The girl's martial spirit is a cat, and the sharp blades pop out instantly from her fingertips. There are a few bright silver colors in the red hair on her head. Her pupils are erect, her upper body is prostrate, her ears are slightly erect, and there is a layer of fine silver hair on her arms. 3 soul rings, white, yellow, and purple, shine at the same time. As for the change of the fat mouse, it looks a little funny. The mouth protrudes and becomes sharper, with a few more whiskers, 2 huge eyes under the upper lip protrude, and a pair of small eyes have changed from slits to round. The chubby body also crawled down, the 2 forearms became thinner, and the sharp black claws popped out from the fingertips. His 3 soul rings are also 1 white, 1 yellow, and 1 purple. Zhu Zhuqing and Zyro Wu also possessed martial spirits, as soon as they revealed their spirit rings. 3 soul rings, 2 yellow and 1 purple, instantly appeared around them. After seeing that both of them were equipped with soul rings, the cat and mouse combination on the opposite side was obviously stunned for a moment, and the seriousness on their faces became much more serious, no longer the previous contempt. The cat and mouse looked at each other, and their long-term cooperative fighting had already given them a lot of tacit understanding. Just by looking at each other, they understood what the other party meant, and then nodded slightly and launched the attack. The skinny cat girl stretched out her figure, her legs moved rapidly, and her whole body was like a whirlwind touching the ground, sweeping towards Zhu Zhuqing and Zyro Wu. The first 2 soul rings on his body lighted up at the same time. Dozens of claw marks pierced through the air, and the attack range directly covered both Zhu Zhuqing and Zyro Wu inside. Seeing that the person on the opposite side was the first to attack, Zhu Zhuqing quickly stepped forward and blocked Zyro Wu from behind. She also had a cat-type martial spirit. She had also taken jelly grass and had a powerful weapon like an attached soul bone, so how could she be afraid? What about her? Then the second soul ring lit up. The second soul skill, Nether 100 Claws. Following Zhu Zhuqing's drink, dozens of paw prints roared towards the skinny cat girl, who was flying towards her. But in an instant, it collided with the paw prints issued by the skinny cat girl. 2 different paw prints, 1 blue and 1 purple, collided in the air, and after a slight stalemate for half a second, Zhu Zhuqing's paw print was the better one after all, directly disintegrating the thin cat girl's offensive, and then the paw print offensive continued unabated, bringing attacking in the direction of the skinny cat girl with a trace of chilling aura. The skinny cat girl was running towards the direction of Zhu Zhuqing and the 2 of them, but after Zhu Zhuqing's attack came, she had no choice but to stop and dodge to the side. Just after she successfully dodged Zhu Zhuqing's attack, before she got up completely, Zhu Zhuqing's second attack came again. She had no choice but to roll over and hide to the side again in a panicked posture. Seeing the skinny cat girl being suppressed, the fat mouse standing not far behind her was very anxious, and immediately wanted to come forward to help her. But Zyro Wu was not idle. Before he took a step, she came to his side, and with a side kick, Fat Mouse, who was about to step forward to help the skinny cat girl, was forced back. What was originally a group battle between 2 people has evolved into a one-on-one individual battle. However, Fat Mouse's soul power level is obviously not as good as that of the skinny cat girl. Even though Zyro Wu's soul power is weaker than Zhu King's, she is still suppressed by Zyro Wu. The skinny cat girl didn't have it easy either. Although she could fight back from time to time, every time she counterattacked, there was a more violent attack from Zhu King. Faced with the double oppression of Zhu King's soul power level and soul ring configuration, the skinny cat girl was also somewhat powerless. Based on the current situation on stage, even some ordinary people in the audience can clearly see that this cat and mouse combination is going to lose. Another confrontation, the thin cat girl's attack was once again disrupted by Zhu King, and Zhu King's attack also followed. The skinny cat girl didn't dare to take it head-on. She could only dodge it by rolling, and then immediately got up to distance herself from Zhu King. Whoosh! The skinny cat girl was dressed roughly, and the sweat on her forehead had already wet the hair on her forehead, and her body was covered with a lot of dust due to the continuous rolling. She looked extremely embarrassed. On the other hand, Zhu King's clothes were still neat and tidy. She stood there straight and looked at her coldly. It seemed that the fierce battle just now didn't consume much of her soul power. Taking advantage of the moment when Zhu King did not attack, the skinny cat girl quickly looked at the fat rat behind her, only to see that he looked even more embarrassed than herself. Not only was he dirty, but his face was also bruised and bruised. Can't stand it. Chapter 88 Zhu King's external soul bone. Seeing the fat rat's appearance, the skinny cat girl gritted her teeth, her heart pounded, and she fiercely attacked in Zhu King's direction, regardless of the gap between herself and Zhu King. Zhu King was naturally not afraid. He mobilized his soul power and prepared to fight her hard. As the two of them got closer and closer, the two cold lights, one purple and one blue, were about to collide with each other. But at this moment, the sharp claws on Zhu King's chest of the thin cat girl suddenly turned and attacked Zhu King's neck, but her own chest, without the protection of the sharp claws, was completely exposed to Zhu King. If Zhu King continues to attack, the skinny cat girl's claws will definitely cause her a lot of damage, and it is not impossible to even lose her combat effectiveness directly. However, in that case, the skinny cat girl will also be seriously injured by Zhu King's claws. It's a way of exchanging injuries for injuries, and it's also a way of risking one's life. And if Zhu King dodges her move, it will inevitably leave a defensive gap, and the skinny cat girl can take advantage of this gap to quickly come back to help Fat Rat and flank Zyro Wu with him. Zhu King naturally saw her intention, but she had no intention of avoiding it. The sharp claws that were shining coldly grabbed her chest easily without the skinny cat girl stopping, leaving 4 deep bloodstains. Severe pain instantly shot through her body. The skinny cat girl did not expect that Zhu King would actually dare to exchange injuries with her. She frowned and took this opportunity to continue attacking. At this time, the sharp cat claws were less than 10 centimeters away from Zhu King's neck. If this blow fell, Zhu King would definitely be seriously injured. However, despite being far inferior to Zhu King in terms of strength, he successfully exchanged injuries with her. In fact, the thin cat girl was earned. But just when the thin cat girl's attack was about to land on Zhu King, a purple spike blocked the attack. The skinny cat girl was shocked and wanted to distance herself, but her speed was not as fast as Zhu King's, not to mention she was injured now. Before she could retreat, another purple spike hit Zhu King's left hand, piercing directly into the skinny cat girl's left shoulder without any hindrance. What? The skinny cat girl, who was hit hard again, let out a cry of surprise, then endured the severe pain and hurriedly took 2 steps back, slightly increasing the distance between her and Zhu King. After opening the distance, the skinny cat girl finally saw what it was just now. On the opposite side, Zhu King saw 8 purple spears growing from his back, and the sharp tips of the spears shone coldly under the light. Fat Mouse naturally heard the thin cat girl's cries of pain. Although he was still in the battle, he couldn't help but look over there because of his concern. But it was his business whether he was distracted. Zyro Wu, who was standing opposite him, would not let go of such a good opportunity. I saw Zyro Wu jumping in front of Fat Rat, and then kicked out straight towards Fat Rat's belly. Fat Mouse couldn't dodge in time, and was directly kicked off the fighting spirit stage by Zyro Wu. Seeing Fat Mouse's defeat, the skinny cat girl's face became even darker, and she chose to surrender without any hesitation. We conceded defeat. At the same time, the audience in the audience was also in an uproar. From their perspective, the sharp claws of the skinny cat girl were clearly about to hurt Zhu Yuqing a second ago. As a result, 8 spider legs sprouted from behind Zhu Yuqing, which not only helped her block the damage, but also severely injured the skinny cat again. Girl. What is this? How could someone have spider legs growing out of their back? I don't know, this masked woman can't be the legendary transformed soul beast. Ah, shapeshifting soul beast, no way. In the audience, you and I were chattering away, and of course there were well-informed people who came out to clarify other people's doubts. What kind of transformed soul beast? This is an external soul bone. When the people around heard that someone knew, they all cast curious eyes. And that person seemed to enjoy this moment very much. He straightened up and said leisurely behind his back, "This is an external spirit bone that is more precious than any of the 6 major spirit bones in the whole body. Not only can it evolve with the level of the soul master, but it can also be used externally. When used, it is like a part of one's own body, making the user even more powerful." Is that so? More precious than the other 6 spirit bones? It sounds very powerful. At the same time, the Shrek rest area. The performance of Xiao Wu and Zhu Yuqing was naturally noticed by everyone in the audience, but their reactions were completely different. Dai Mubai seemed worried, sad, very complicated. But Tang San's side is much purer, just envious why this external spirit bone is not his own, even envious with a hint of jealousy. Most of the others had no other emotions in their eyes. People like Yin Hao and Enning Rongrong, who had a good relationship with the two, were naturally happy for them, while Oscar had an indifferent attitude. Well, Ma Hongzhen's eyes were not only vulgar, but also vulgar. His eyes kept staring at the 2 women showing off their skills on the stage. Especially when Zhu Yuqing showed off his soul bone, his saliva almost flowed out. After getting off the fighting spirit stage, Xiao Wu and the 2 went to register the points first, and after a while, they also returned to Shrek's rest area. After stepping off the stage, as soon as she saw Yin Hao, Xiao Wu couldn't wait to pounce on him. "Brother Hao, how is my performance?" Yin Hao touched her hair and said lovingly, "Okay, Xiao Wu is the best." Just like coaxing a child, Xiao Wu smiled happily after hearing Yin Hao's praise. Zhu Yuqing stood by and watched all this without saying a word. Yin Hao turned to look at Zhu Yuqing again. "Yuqing, you are amazing too." Hearing Yin Hao's words, a smile appeared on Zhu Yuqing's cold face, but he didn't reply and left directly. After Zhu Yuqing and Xiao Wu's doubles match, the singles match of Yin Hao, Dai Mubai, Tang San, Ma Hongzhen and others also came successively. But it is a pity that except for Yin Hao and Tang San, who won the single match, Dai Mubai and Ma Hongzhen lost all the single matches. Tang San was able to win the game thanks to his hidden weapon that caught his opponent off guard. Otherwise we can't win. Immediately afterwards was the double match between Yin Hao and Enning Rongrong. Following the host's prompt, Yin Hao led Enning Rongrong onto the soul fighting stage. Next, let's invite Rong Hao's opponent, the 2 bulls who have won 6 consecutive victories in 2-on-2 soul fighting. With their strong strength, they achieved unprecedented success in the Soul King level competition. If they can defeat today's opponent Rong Hao, they will complete their 7-game winning streak. Perhaps the next time they appear in the Soto Spirit Fighting Arena, they will enter the Central Spirit Fighting Area. That is a huge honor for a soul fighter. Chapter 89, The Color of the Soul Ring is Fake. Following the host's prompt, the sound resounded through the entire Great Soul Arena. In the opposite direction to Yin Hao and the other 2 muscular men came out. With a height of nearly 2 meters and well-developed muscles, people wonder if these 2 people are gorillas that have shed their hair. When the people on both sides were seated, the person on the left in the pair of bulls looked at the 2 thin, masked people not far away and couldn't help smiling disdainfully. "The 2 dolls on the opposite side, you should go home and nurse. This is not the place for you to come." The man on the right also echoed. "Did you dare to come to the soul fighting arena before you even have full hair? Are you out of your mind?" Although the 2 of them didn't think that the opponents who could come to the Soul King level arena would be young, but this did not prevent them from using words to stimulate their opponents. Enning Rongrong didn't have a good temper either, so she immediately retorted. "What are you 2 stupid cows called? Do you only bark? You have used your brains to replace your muscles. Enning Rongrong pinched his waist and spoke out, without Yin Hao's help. He made the two opposite people angry, which made Yin Hao have to look sideways. Without waiting for the opponent to counterattack, with the referee's order, the game officially started. The two of the pair of bulls no longer used words to fight back, but directly activated their martial souls, intending to use their soul power to teach that sharp-talking little girl a lesson. Following a burst of soul power fluctuations, changes began to take place in the two bulls. The already swollen muscles became even bigger, and the clothes on the upper body were also torn apart due to the overwhelming load, and turned into a few rags in a short while. Their trousers should be specially made. They are wide to begin with and have good elasticity. They are not broken by the muscles that swell after being possessed by martial spirits. The eyes of the person on the left gradually changed from black and white to red, and the skin all over his body seemed to grow black hair as the martial spirit possessed him. Two huge horns seemed to appear on the temples on the top of his head, and the tips of the horns glowed coldly, as if they were about to tear the opponent in front of you. The eyes of the person on the right turned completely black, and the skin all over his body began to harden. White skin emerged on his body, replacing the original brown and black. The difference on the top of his head from the person on the left was that only one horn appeared on his forehead. Both of them have exactly the same soul ring configuration, with 5 soul rings, 1 white, 2 yellow, and 2 purple. The two Yin Hao on the other side also possessed martial souls, and neither of them had martial souls, so their bodies didn't change much. In Enning Rongrong's palm appeared a small 9-story pocket pagoda-like colored glaze, and 3 soul rings, 2 yellow and 1 purple, also surrounded him. Seeing that Enning Rongrong only had 3 soul rings, no matter it was the duo in the arena or the audience outside the arena, they were stunned. You know, this is a soul fighting platform at the level of a soul king. Why is there a soul venerable? In an instant, various emotions such as contempt, disdain, and anger caused by being insulted all appeared in the hearts of the two oxen duo. However, this emotion only appeared for a second. The moment Yin Hao's soul ring appeared, the emotions of the two were replaced by shock. As his soul power fluctuated, a strange blue-silver grass with golden stripes appeared in Yin Hao's palm. It was nothing at first, but the moment Wuhan appeared beside him, 5 spirit rings, 2 yellow, 1 purple, 2 black, also appeared beside him. 2 10,000-year soul rings. How could the 4th soul ring be a 10,000-year soul ring? There was an uproar in the audience. Only the 5th soul ring can absorb the 10,000-year soul ring. This is common sense passed down in the entire soul master world for thousands of years. Even ordinary people without innate soul power know this. But Yin Hao's soul ring configuration completely broke their perception. In an instant, the eyes of countless people gathered again, looking at Brother Dang, who had mentioned Zhu Zhuking's outer spirit bone. Brother Dong is also stupid. He knows the common sense of martial arts is true, but that is all from reading books. The scene before him is not written in the book, but when seeing so many people looking at him, Brother Dong had no choice but to pretend to be calm with an appearance of, I have seen everything clearly. Pointing casually at Yin Hao on the fighting spirit stage, he said with a light smile. Nowadays, these young people all pay attention to their aura. Even their spirit rings have to be disguised in an unbelievable way in order to overwhelm the enemy in terms of aura. Really. When the surrounding audience heard this, they all looked like, that's it. Some hindsight audience members also spoke out. I said, how could the soul ring reach 10,000 years in the 4th ring? It turned out to be a disguise. It's true, these young people don't learn every day, but just learn these weird ways. It's really not as good as one generation. Yes. The pair of bulls on the field looked at each other and seemed to come to the same conclusion. The shock in their eyes gradually faded, replaced by anger after being teased. The soul fighting officially begins. The attacking methods of the pair of bulls are the same as their spirits. At almost the same moment, the 1,000-year spirit rings on their bodies light up, and the two of them, one on the left and the other on the right, rush towards them like 2 crazy old cows. Enning Rongrong was a little flustered seeing this scene, but after seeing Yin Hao's gaze, she tried her best to make herself feel at ease. Then the 3 soul rings on his body lit up at the same time. The 9 treasures come out of colored glaze. One said strength. The second said speed. 3. Soul. As the 3 rays of light emerged from the tower and entered Yin Hao's body, Yin Hao also felt that the strength, speed and soul power in his body had been greatly improved. Then he turned his head to look at the 2 reckless bulls galloping towards him, and with a wave of his right hand, several ice walls of blue-silver grass rose from the ground, blocking in front of the 2 of them. However, both of them reacted very quickly, and quickly changed direction, moving from the left and right sides to the middle, so that the attack direction that originally attacked 2 places at the same time became an attack direction. Boom, 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 with the sound of 3 roars, the 3 ice walls that originally stood between the 2 groups of people were directly smashed into big holes, but fortunately, the momentum of the 2 people's charge was successfully stopped. Yin Hao didn't mean to be polite to them at all. With a wave of his right hand again, the ice wall that had been knocked into a big hole instantly shattered and quickly reorganized in the air. But in just 1 second, a huge blue dragon condensed in the air. The 2 members of the pair of bulls looked at each other and nodded tacitly. Immediately after that, it was divided into 2 waves. Hai Nu quickly mobilized his soul power and rushed towards the ice dragon not far away, while Bai Nu bypassed the ice dragon and continued to attack Yin Hao. The ice dragon in the air opened its mouth wide and let out a silent roar, then twisted its body and rushed towards the direction of the black cow. Hai Nu didn't flicker too much. The 2nd, 3rd, and 5th soul rings on his body lit up at the same time, and there was a bloodthirsty red light in his eyes. Bring it on! Then he kicked off his legs and rushed towards the ice dragon like a cannonball. Chapter 90 Yin Hao Fighting Soul. The black bull collided with the ice dragon. After a slight stalemate for a second, the black bull roared and increased the output of soul power. 2 sharp horns pierced into the ice dragon, crushing the ice dragon instantly. However, he was also knocked several meters away by the instantaneous huge reaction force, and then smashed heavily to the edge of the soul fighting platform. Looking at the other side, after the ice dragon was stopped by the black bull, the white bull went straight towards Yin Hao and the 2 of them. The 2nd soul ring around Yin Hao lit up. The 2nd soul skill, blue-silver cage. In an instant, several blue-silver grass rose up from the ground, forming a huge cage and enclosing the white bull in the middle. White bull didn't panic. The 2nd and 5th soul rings on his body lit up at the same time. With a roar, the horn on white bull's head became more and more ferocious. 5th soul skill, sky rhinoceros top. Following the sound of the white bull, the whole person slammed into the direction of the blue-silver cage again at an extremely fast speed. Yin Hao glanced at Enning Rongrong behind him, then walked forward directly, his 5th soul ring lighting up. 5th soul skill, blue-silver overlord spear. Several strands of blue-silver grass condensed from Yin Hao's hand, but in just a second, they formed the shape of an overlord spear, and then Yin Hao threw it directly in the direction of the white bull. As the blue-silver cage was broken by the white bull, the overlord spear in Yin Hao's hand also arrived. The tip of the spear collided with the tip of the horn, and a pain from Wuhan instantly spread throughout Bai Nu's body. What? The white bull instantly let out a roar of pain, lying on the ground and wailing continuously. The corner of Yin Hao's mouth raised slightly. He took 2 steps forward, pulled out the blue-silver overlord spear inserted on the ground, and was just about to use the gun to lift him off the soul fighting platform when he heard Enning Rongrong shouting from behind. Yin Hao! Yin Hao looked back, only to see that Hai Nu, who had been sent flying by the ice dragon before, stood up again, summoned his martial soul again, and was rushing towards Enning Rongrong quickly. Seeing this scene, Yin Hao ignored the white bull on the ground and threw the blue-silver overlord gun again to intercept the black bull's attack direction. He himself quickly ran to Enning Rongrong, grabbed her slender waist, and took her away from the place. Black Nu's purpose was not to Enning Rongrong, but to use Enning Rongrong to save Bai Nu, so after Enning Rongrong was rescued by Yin Hao, Hai Nu stopped directly and turned towards Bai Nu's run in the direction. Enning Rongrong also realized this, looked at the hands around her slim waist, then looked at the black bull who was already standing with the white bull not far away, and gave Yin Hao a slightly guilty look. Sorry, I. Before he finished speaking, Yin Hao blocked the next words with a finger. Don't tell me you're sorry, isn't it what I should do to protect and assist? Besides, your safety is much more important than the game. If you get injured because of this game, then I'd rather not win. Enning Rongrong gave Yin Hao a moved look, then nodded and said, "Thanks." Yin Hao smiled and nodded without replying. Looking at the two people opposite again, Bai Niu had already stood up with the help of Hai Niu, summoned his martial spirit again, and stood with Hai Niu. What was different from before was the contempt in their eyes. The color has completely disappeared. Hai Niu looked at Yin Hao, who was not far ahead, and said in a low voice, "Old Bai, I'll hold him back, and you go catch the girl first." Bai Niu didn't say much, just nodded with a serious face. Yin Hao gently put Enning Rongrong down, then took a step forward, looked at the two people not far away, and said, "The two of you somewhat don't talk about wood." The two bulls did not reply, but looked at each other, and then divided into two waves. The black bull rushed towards Yin Hao, while the white bull avoided Yin Hao and approached the fighting spirit platform from the side, around the other side. Everyone could see that the two of them were planning to repeat their old tricks, but they did not step forward directly because Yin Hao was standing in front of Enning Rongrong. If Yin Hao wanted to attack Enning Rongrong, then Yin Hao, you can definitely pull her away immediately. So the two stopped when they were still some distance away from Yin Hao. Although they did not continue to move forward, they were always staring at Yin Hao, as if they wanted to wait for him to make the first move. Moreover, the distance between the two is not close, so it is unlikely that they can be dealt with at the same time. Thinking of this, Yin Hao turned his head to look at Enning Rongrong and said softly, "Do you believe me, Rongrong?" Enning Rongrong was slightly startled, but still nodded. Yin Hao smiled and said, "Then just stand here and don't move, okay?" Enning Rongrong nodded and agreed. Even though he didn't know what Yin Hao was going to do, Enning Rongrong still chose to believe. Then Yin Hao turned his head to look at the two people standing on both sides in the middle of the ring, took out the blue-silver Overlord spear, and quickly rushed towards Hai Niu. At the same time, two ice walls stood up between Bai Niu and Enning Rongrong. Without much hesitation, Hai Niu used his greatest soul power to rush towards Yin Hao. Bai Niu also mobilized his soul power and transformed into a huge white rhinoceros again, summoning Yin Hao and charging towards the ice wall. After all, the ice wall was not a soul skill. It collapsed after holding on for a while. Although the second ice wall lasted a little longer, it was knocked out by the white bull in just a few seconds. Without stopping for a moment, Bai Niu continued to approach Enning Rongrong. He knew that Hai Niu couldn't hold back that masked man at all. All he could do was to get rid of this woman as soon as possible. The ice wall shattered again, and the ice thorns all over the sky once again formed a blue ice dragon. Yin Hao had two uses at once, controlling the ice dragon to confront the white bull and fighting the black bull at the same time. Bai Niu took a deep breath, mobilized his soul power again, and rushed towards the ice dragon. Yin Hao naturally wouldn't be afraid, and also mobilized the ice dragon to rush in his direction. But Bai Niu seemed to be smart this time. Just before colliding with the ice dragon, he suddenly changed direction, rushed towards the rear of the ice dragon, approaching Enning Rongrong step by step. Originally, the ice dragon's large size was an advantage, but now it is not as flexible as the white bull because of its large size, so it cannot turn around to save Enning Rongrong for a while. Seeing this, Yin Hao simply refused to let the ice dragon turn around, and controlled the ice dragon to fly towards him. Hai Niu was still struggling to hold on at this time, and did not notice a huge ice dragon flying towards him. By the time he noticed it, the ice dragon was already in front of him. In an instant, Hai Niu felt a huge force rushing towards him, knocking him out of his already poor condition. Yin Hao didn't choose to return to defense this time, but stepped forward and sent Hai Niu off the fighting spirit platform. But also because the ice dragon was transferred away by Yin Hao, Enning Rongrong no longer has any protective measures in front of him. Watching the white bull approaching her side step by step, Enning Rongrong was momentarily at a loss. And Yin Hao also had no time to return to defense because he was going to deal with Hai Niu. Chapter 91. Ning Rongrong seemed at a loss for a moment. She could only close her eyes and wait quietly for herself to be eliminated. And the audience on the court, including Shrek's teachers and students, thought that Yin Hao was planning to give up Enning Rongrong and win the whole match. Mutation. The white bull, who was already not far from Enning Rongrong, accelerated again, and the whole body was running towards Enning Rongrong like a cannonball. If it hit the top this time, Ening Rongrong would not be able to get out of bed for at least 10 days and a half months. At this moment, the white bull, who was getting closer and closer to Ening Rongrong, did not fly Ening Rongrong away, but felt that he was stopped by a huge force in front of him. Ening Rongrong opened his eyes, only to see Yin Hao holding the blue-silver overlord spear in front of him to stop Bai Nu's attack. Ening Rongrong was taken aback, looked at the place where Yin Hao was before, but found that there was another Yin Hao over there. Yin Hao. Ening Rongrong looked at Yin Hao, who stood in front of her, and then at Yin Hao, who was on the other side. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. The Shrek people in the audience were also stunned. Although they had known Yin Hao for a long time, they had never seen Yin Hao use the soul skills of the last 2 soul rings. We have just seen that Yin Hao's 5th soul skill is a gun. Could this be Yin Hao's 4th soul skill? At this time, Yu Zairogang as a master came out again. I heard that Pope Bibi Dong of Wuhan Palace also has a clone soul skill. I didn't expect that Zyro Hao could obtain such a soul skill at such a young age. The same soul ability as the current Pope. Oscar and the others exclaimed. How did they know that when it comes to practicality, Yin Hao's soul ability is better than Bibi Dong's soul ability? Although the 8th soul ability of Bibi Dong's Death Spider Emperor is also a clone soul skill, and the clone also has 80% of the main body's combat power, it is still a part of the main body after all, requiring the main body to continuously send soul power to maintain it. However, Yin Hao's blue-silver clone can absorb soul power on its own. In other words, Yin Hao's clone can move far away from the main body. Not only that, Yin Hao's 4th soul ability is also very adaptable. Without creating that powerful clone, he can create many clones like Hokkage's multiple shadow clones. Although the combat power is average, he can bluff, and it can also confuse the enemy, and its practicality is not bad. Back on the soul fighting platform, Bai Nu was shocked after being stopped by his clone Yin Hao. After trying to break through several times to no avail, he saw that Yin Hao's true body was about to come, so he had no choice but to admit defeat. The referee also announced the result of the game after the white bull conceded. After Yin Hao recalled his doppelganger, he also walked towards Ening Rongrong, who was a little dazed, with a smile on his face. How, I told you to trust me, did I make a mistake? Ening Rongrong came back to her senses. A smile appeared on the corner of her mouth, and she opened her hands to wrap around Yin Hao's neck. I thought you were going to give up on me. Yin Hao also smiled and hugged her with his backhand. How is that possible? You are my friend and teammate. Hearing the words friend and teammate, the smile on Ening Rongrong's face, which was still smiling at first, suddenly faded a bit. An ray of disappointment flashed in her eyes, but she quickly covered it up. Yes, we are friends. Yin Hao patted Ening Rongrong on the back and said, Okay, it's time for us to go down, don't delay the next game. After getting off the soul fighting stage, Yin Hao and Ening Rongrong first completed the points ranking under the arrangement of the staff, and then returned to Shrek's rest area. Back there, it was inevitable to greet Tang San and the others, and then sat back in his seat. As the soul fights continued, the remaining Shrek contestants also followed one after another. The double match between Ma Hongjun and Oscar lost without any accident, and the loss was miserable. It was almost the end at the beginning. Ma Hongjun had just released a phoenix line of fire, and before he could use the second soul skill, he was rushed over by others' code. He didn't even have the strength to resist at all, as if his soul power level was false. He was no match for him at all. The most important thing was that his soul power level was 1 level lower than his. The double match between Tang San and Dai Mubai was much more interesting. As soon as he entered the field, Dai Mubai's image confused the opponent and the referee. The referee even temporarily took out the match list to take a closer look, and then choked out a sentence. Where is Mr. Z and Beihu? You need to be present in person in the soul fighting arena, and you cannot be replaced by others. After hearing the referee's words, Dai Mubai had no reaction and seemed to have been used to it. However, Ma Hongjun and others in the audience were extremely happy and laughed non-stop. After some explanations, the referee was convinced that the big girl in front of him was the evil-eyed white tiger. Before the start, the referee was still mumbling, "What's going on with these registered people? Their gender can be mistaken, really." In a soul fight at the level of the soul sect, the opponent's soul power is obviously similar to his own, and even in terms of the quality of the martial soul, his martial soul has an advantage over the opponent's martial soul. But Dai Mubai was still beaten by his opponent, and even had to give up offense completely and switch to defense. And Tang San was also when Dai Mubai was about to be unable to hold on. He gave full play to his old bastard's attributes, with a set of hidden weapons. The opponent on the opposite side was caught off guard, and only then did he win the match. The day's spirit fighting was completely completed, and everyone was tired from the whole day. Then they stopped lingering in the big spirit fighting arena and turned around to go back to Shrek. But just when everyone was about to leave, a few people with obvious fluctuations in spirit power surrounded a leader of the big spirit field and stopped them. Although Flender may be criticized for his usual behavior, he is still very qualified as a teacher of the academy. After the crowd stopped a few people, he immediately blocked the crowd behind him, and then he spoke. "A few of my friends from the Great Soul Fighting Arena, what are you doing for me?" The person in charge didn't seem to want to start a direct confrontation, so he cupped his hands and gave Flender a slight salute. "Mr. Flender, the four-eyed owl, has known his name for a long time. Let me introduce myself. I am the manager of the Great Soul Arena in Soto City. My surname is Long." Flender didn't know what the other party wanted to do for a while, but after knowing that the other party was the manager of the Great Soul Fighting Arena, he immediately showed a friendly smile. After all, as long as he was clear-headed, he would definitely not get into trouble with the Great Soul Fighting Arena. Conflicting. "It turns out to be Manager Long. I wonder if Manager Long has any important reason for stopping us this time." Manager Long nodded politely, then took out a receipt from the person behind him and handed it to Flender. Chapter 92 Dai Mubai, who owes money. Manager Long nodded politely, then took out a receipt from the person behind him and handed it to Flender. Seeing Manager Long handing over a receipt, Flender and the others were a little surprised, but Dai Mubai behind him was shocked. "Principal Flender, this is the IOU from Mrs. Dai Mubai of your house. Miss borrowed money from our Great Soul Arena. The total amount is gold soul coins. The period is 3 months, but these 3 months have already passed. I haven't seen Miss Dai pay back the money. Look at this." Flanders was stunned when he heard this. His first reaction was that it was impossible. After all, he knew Dai Mubai's financial conditions. Even the college's expenses over the years had not relied on Dai Mubai's help. However, after he carefully read the IOU, he had to believe this fact. Then he turned around with the receipt in hand and looked at Dai Mubai, who had his head lowered, and said, "Mubai, what's going on?" Dai Mubai didn't deny it either, just lowered his head slightly and spoke. "Principal, this is what I bought in a moment of confusion 3 months ago, and I bought an off-site bet in the Great Soul Arena, and it turned out." Speaking of that off-site bet, Dai Mubai even took a look at Yin Hao, remembering that Yin Hao advised him not to buy too much, but unfortunately he didn't listen at that time. After getting an affirmative answer, Manager Long also showed a smile on his face. Unless he has to, he is also unwilling to conflict with Flender, a strong soul sage, but now that Dai Mubai has admitted it, naturally everyone is happy. "But admit it, Dai Mubai really has no money. I remember I borrowed money from Yin Hao when I came out of the Great Soul Arena and wanted to go to the women's ticket." Flanders also saw Dai Mubai's embarrassment. As a teacher who had been with him for several years, he definitely had to protect him, even if they didn't understand the matter. "That Manager Long, it's true that Mubai did wrong in this matter, but look at him now, he really can't afford it. Can you give me a few days of grace for my sake?" Hearing this, Manager Long frowned and spoke immediately. "Dean Flender, at that time the deadline for our Great Spirit Arena was March, but now it has been 3.5 months, and I, Long, did not come to ask for it because of the face of Dean Flender. But you can't go too far. If Dean Flender really wants to play tricks with us, I'm not afraid of you in the Great Spirit Arena." Seeing Manager Long's tough attitude, Flender also frowned. Want to talk about a conflict? He really doesn't have the courage. The Great Soul Fighting Arena can stand firmly in the 2 empires. Titled Duluo may not be able to take it out, but Soul Duluo definitely can't escape. If that's the case, I'm afraid I have to help Mubai first, but 50,000 gold soul coins, where did he get so much money? Money? Flanders glanced at Enning Rongrong behind him. He had no money, but as the eldest lady of the Kibao Glazed sect, Enning Rongrong must be rich. Just when he was about to shamelessly go to Enning Rongrong and ask her for help, a voice appeared. "Mubai, you still owe so much money, why didn't you tell brother?" Hearing this, both Dai Mubai and Flender were slightly taken aback. Following their gazes, it turned out to be Yin Hao's words. Yin Hao was seen frowning with a reproachful look on his face, as if he was blaming Dai Mubai for not telling him the matter in time. Flender nodded secretly, and it had to be the kid Yin Hao. I've already seen it, this kid can do it, he can get along. A trace of emotion flashed across Dai Mubai's face, and then he smiled and said, I didn't expect. Yin Hao waved his hand to interrupt Dai Mubai, then took out a gold card from his body, handed it to Dai Mubai and said, Don't talk so much, you should settle the matter in front of you first. Seeing the gold card handed over by Yin Hao in front of him, Dai Mubai was stunned for a moment, opened his mouth but still didn't say anything. Finally, he could only take the gold card and silently said thank you. At the same time, the voice in Yin Hao's mind sounded again. Congratulations to the host for getting Dai Mubai's 4th soul ring with a transaction of gold soul coins, 600. The lifespan is years. Do you want to receive it? Not receiving it yet. Dai Mubai took the gold card from Yin Hao's hand and didn't dare to look at Yin Hao again, just handed the gold card in his hand to Manager Long on the opposite side and said, Manager Long, please check. Manager Long didn't scribble. After taking the gold card, he handed it to the woman beside him. After taking the card, the woman also turned around and left. After a while, the woman came back and said something in Manager Long's ear. Manager Long nodded and then spoke. Then, since the matter is over, I also apologize to Dean Flender for my rudeness just now, and hope that we can cooperate often in the future. After speaking, he turned and left. Flender also turned to look at Dai Mubai after Manager Long and his party left. But before he could speak, Dai Mubai spoke first. Dean, let me go back first, I will be alone for a while. After finishing speaking, without waiting for Flender's reaction, he turned and left. Seeing Dai Mubai's leaving back, Flender was slightly stunned, and after thinking for a while, he still didn't choose to catch up. He just brought Yin Hao and others back to Shrek Academy. As a small city, Soto City has many lights even at night. It was not dark on the road, and the bright moonlight coupled with the lights on both sides of the road made it appear extremely bright. Dai Mubai was walking alone on the road to Soto City, wondering what he was thinking. I looked down at the ground, I couldn't even see my toes. Dai Mubai suddenly smiled self-deprecatingly. Did he ask for money? What else is there besides a slightly higher level of spirit power for the man he is still playing with? And his soul power level is also due to the fairy grass that Yin Hao brought back, so if he calculates it like this, he really has nothing. Even his fiancée Zhu Zhuking. Hey, how could he have the face to admit that she was his fiancée in his current state? Fortunately, she also picked the legendary fairy cow Acacia Heartbroken Red for herself. While walking on the road in Soto City, many men who thought they had a good image came forward to strike up a conversation. Of course, he was rejected by Dai Mubai without a doubt, but he was also surprised to find that he no longer resented being approached by a man, and he would even be a little secretly happy if the other person was handsome. Unknowingly, Dai Mubai walked to a place in the corner of Suichu City. Dai Mubai looked up. Isn't this the chicken coop that Ma Hongzhen brought him here last time? It's still the same red light, the same aunt, and I don't know how Ma Hongzhen managed to say it. Dai Mubai smiled, shook his head and prepared to leave, but what he didn't notice was that several people were walking out. Chapter 93, Dai Mubai's Crisis. Bula walked out of the grass den with cat steps, accompanied by 2 equally wretched-looking men on the left and right. Bula raised his orchid fingers and looked at the 2 men next to him. How are you 2 brothers? Did you enjoy yourself today? Listening to the drake sound coming from Bula's mouth, the 2 men next to him couldn't help but get goosebumps. The old goose who was laughing suddenly stopped and looked forward, his mouth almost drooling. Buell was a little curious and said, "What's wrong, old goose? What are you looking at?" As he spoke, he was unhappy and looked forward along the old goose's gaze. With just one glance, his face turned cold. Tiania and Lao Goose on the side didn't seem to notice the change in Bula's expression and were still chatting to themselves. Tiania, look at this girl, she has big breasts, perky butt and long legs. She looks like the best at first glance. If I could sleep with her, I would be happy to lose 10 years of my life. Tiania on the side also spoke. 10 years, you are so promising. I am willing to live 20 years shorter. What do you think if you are not happy? Not happy. Seeing that Bula didn't respond, Tiania and Lao Goose also looked to the side with some confusion. Bula was staring at the beauty, not far away, with a fierce look on his face, as if he wanted to cut that beauty into pieces. Tiania and Lao Ji looked at each other, confused, not knowing what was happening to their brothers. But Bula didn't leave them wondering and spoke directly. Two brothers, the girl in front of me is one of the culprits who caused my brother to become like this. You guys want to help me take revenge. When Tiania and Lao Ji heard that this girl was the one who caused their brother to become like this, is this a big deal? Immediately, he spoke directly with a sense of loyalty. Don't worry, brother, this little girl dares to harm you like this. I'll help you get revenge. With that said, Tiania walked forward directly. Old Goose seemed to have thought of something, and after secretly cursing unloyalty, he also hurried forward, for fear of being a step too late. The two of them walked quickly towards Dai Mubai, one on the left and the other on the right. By the time Dai Mubai realized something was wrong, he was already surrounded by the two of them. Dai Mubai frowned, looked around the two of them, then spoke. What's the matter? Just stay out of the way. While Tiania looked up and down at the big beauty in front of him, he unconsciously licked his already dry lips and spoke. What's the matter? Is it okay if you hurt my brother? I'm here to avenge him today. Hearing this, Dai Mubai frowned even deeper. He indeed offended a lot of people when Dai Young Master ran across Kyoto City, but those people probably wouldn't recognize him now. Why would he come looking for trouble? Just when Dai Mubai was puzzled, Bula also walked up, looking at Dai Mubai with a sneer. Little girl, remember me. Dai Mubai heard the sound and looked around, only to see a very wretched-looking man standing not far in front of him. After seeing him, Dai Mubai also understood what was going on and immediately sneered. Oh, it's you. Why did you lose your own things before, and now you want to send your brother's things over too? It has to be said that Dai Mubai's mouth is really poisonous. It is said that swearing does not expose faults, but he only exposes faults when swearing, and immediately hits the sore spot of unhappiness. Bula was annoyed at that time and looked at Dai Mubai angrily. Shut up, I will make you pay for your previous actions. Old Goose, Tiania, let's go. Although fighting is prohibited in Soto City, Bula certainly won't care about it at this time, and Tiania and Lao Goose both have Dai Mubai's shadow in their eyes, so how can they care about any irregularities? Little sister, go back with your brother. Tiania smiled obscenely while summoning his martial spirit, a broken knife. At the same time, 5 soul rings, 1 white, 2 yellow and 2 purple, appeared around him. The old goose beside him also released his soul rings, and 5 soul rings, 1 white, 2 yellow and 2 purple, also appeared beside him. Needless to say, he was unhappy, but he also summoned a soul ring. Dai Mubai was shocked when he saw this scene. 1 soul sect and 2 soul kings, he is just a small soul sect. Even if his soul ring configuration is better than theirs, he is still no match for the 2 soul kings. He immediately did not dare to neglect, and directly possessed the martial spirit. The white tiger martial spirit appeared, and 4 soul rings, 2 yellow and 2 purple appeared. Seeing Dai Mubai summoning the martial spirit, Tiania and Lao Ji not only showed no fear, but became even more excited, and rushed towards Dai Mubai with lewd smiles on their faces. Dai Mubai was shocked when he saw this scene. He quickly summoned the white tiger protective barrier to block the attacks of the two. Unfortunately, although his soul power level was raised by the Kai Rong Tianju fake, his combat effectiveness was not improved, and even declined. The two of them only had an A draw, and without even using their soul skills, Dai Mubai's white tiger protective barrier was directly broken. As for him, when the white tiger's protective barrier was broken, he was trapped by Bula's martial spirit, Tianluo double shield, behind him. Seeing that Dai Mubai was trapped, the smile on Tiania's face became even more obscene. He raised his dark hand and touched Dai Mubai's face. But the old goose was still awake, and stopped Tiania from speaking. Don't lose your mind, this is Soto City. What we did just now will definitely attract the attention of the escort team. We'd better leave first. Tiania thought it made sense when he heard it, and then he looked at Bula and nodded, deciding to take this great beauty to a deserted place first, and then avenge his brother. Just as he said, Tianya took a piece of rag he had found from somewhere and stuffed Dai Mubai's mouth to prevent him from shouting and causing unnecessary trouble. The other side also took another sack and covered Dai Mubai's exposed head. After doing all this, he, Tianya and Buell looked at each other, temporarily suppressed their inner excitement, and ran quickly towards the deserted suburbs. Chapter 94: Dai Mubai's Crisis. Half an hour later, in a farmland. Under the impatient gazes of Tianya and Lao Gu, Bula finally released Dai Mubai. Tianya directly took off the sack covering his head and threw away the rag stuffed in his mouth, and then looked at Dai Mubai excitedly. At this time, Dai Mubai no longer had the arrogance and air he had before. A trace of panic and fear appeared on his face. He kept kicking backwards with his legs, as if he wanted to stay away from several people. Seeing Dai Mubai's appearance, the smiles on Bula's faces became even more obscene. Bula stepped forward directly and roughly pinched Dai Mubai's chin. A ferocious smile gradually appeared on his face. Dai Mubai still wanted to resist, and mobilized his soul power to fight towards Bula. However, Tianya's eyes were sharp, and he blocked his attack directly and sealed his soul power. Buell sneered twice. "Little girl, did you think about today when you dealt with me before?" "Ah." Dai Mubai's face was pinched by Buell. Woo couldn't say a complete sentence, his face flushed anxiously. The old goose behind him seemed a little impatient and urged, "Bula, it's almost done. Let Tianya and I educate this disobedient girl. Ha ha ha." As he spoke, he showed a lewd smile. Tianya on the side also laughed wretchedly. Bula nodded, violently flung Dai Mubai's face aside, and spoke. "Okay, then I will trouble you two brothers to educate this chick well. After you finish educating her, I will sell her to a chicken coop. I will make her life worse than death." While Buell was talking, a ferocious expression appeared on his face. Tianya and Old Goose don't care about what happens after their education. They just want to have a good chat about life with this big beauty in front of them. Dai Mubai panicked and spoke quickly. No, three eldest brothers, I am a man. I only became like this because of some special reasons. You believe me." Hearing Dai Mubai's explanation, Tianya and the others were slightly taken aback for a moment, and after looking at each other, they showed an expression of, "You think I'm a fool." When Dai Mubai saw that several people didn't believe it, he became anxious and continued. "It's true, I'm really a man. My name is Dai Mubai. You go to the Rose Hotel and ask. I was a regular customer there before. I really became like this because of some special reasons." However, Lao Goose did not continue to listen to his explanation and directly waved his hand to interrupt him. "That's enough, girl. Are you not well introduced? You must use such ridiculous excuses to deceive people. I have grown up as an old goose, and I have never heard of anything that can change gender." Tianya on the side also spoke. "Old Goose, what nonsense are you talking to him? After we finish playing, we will sell him to the chicken coop to take revenge on Bula. Don't listen to his nonsense." As he spoke, he was ready to start directly. Dai Mubai naturally resisted desperately, but it's a pity, not to mention that his soul power has been sealed. Even if his soul power has not been blocked, he is not the opponent of Tianya, Old Goose, Buell, and the others. I could only curse Tang San in my heart. It was because he didn't know how to pretend to understand that he was bullied. Of course, facts are facts. After a series of actions, several people were dumbfounded. Especially the Old Goose and Tianya. They are very confused when you look at me and I look at you. By the way, I thought this little girl was making excuses, but I didn't expect. But after a short look at each other, both of them had even more lewd smiles on their faces. An hour later, the three of Bula had already left. Only Dai Mubai was left lying in the farmland, looking up at the sky. Maybe it was a conscious discovery, or maybe it was because they were worried that people would not accept it, but Buell and the others didn't sell Dai Mubai to the chicken coop, but left him in the farmland. Dai Mubai was lying on the ground alone. He didn't care if the dust on the ground would stain his body, and he didn't care if the mosquitoes in the sky would come to bite him. He just lay quietly like a dead person. Only the occasional tears in the corners of the eyes showed that this one was still alive. Let's talk about the Shrek people. Although Flender showed his usual stingy talent, he didn't even allow everyone to sit in the carriage, and abruptly let everyone who had been tired all day run back. However, several girls in Yin Hao have used fairy grass, so it is needless to say more about the improvement of physique, and Tang San has the gate technique, which is nothing. Only the three of Oscar, Ma Hongjun and Yu Zairogang are exhausted. Out of breath, I almost stuck my tongue out. Fortunately, in terms of food, under Yu Zairogang's insistence, Flanders still had this rare blood. Meat and medicinal food were prepared for everyone, and even some soul beast meat was served on the dining table. After dinner, well, it's not appropriate to call this time dinner. It must be that after eating the midnight snack, everyone naturally decided to go back to the dormitory to rest while looking at the moon hanging high outside. Yin Hao was no exception, but just as he returned to the dormitory before he even had time to take off his clothes, there was a knock on the door. Boom, 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 Yin Hao opened the blue-silver domain, and he knew who it was with a little sensing. Not surprisingly, it was Zhu Zhuqing again. Yin Hao secretly sighed. It's true, he consumed so much during the day and was ready to go to bed at night. He still didn't allow himself a little rest. Helpless. Reader, it's shameless to act like a good boy when you get it cheap. Yin Hao opened the door, and before he could say anything, a pair of scarlet three-magatama sharing an eyes met his eyes. This chick is becoming more and more impolite. Anyway, she used to chat with herself for a while before doing anything, but now she just omitted the foreplay. Ahem, that's a bit of a stretch, let's get back to the point. What can Yin Hao do? The law teaches that we cannot go against the wishes of women, so Yin Hao can only fall into the state of being controlled, with blind eyes again. It was not the first time Zhu Zhuqing had done this kind of thing, and he was already familiar with it. After Yin Hao was controlled by her, he quickly entered the door and closed the dormitory door. The consumption of soul power in her body made her face pale, but this could not stop the joy covering Zhu Zhuqing's face. After just resting for a while, Zhu Zhuqing moved to Yin Hao's side and took a deep breath greedily. Then he picked up Yin Hao and prepared to go to the woods again. But as soon as he put his hand on the door, he stopped before he started. Zhu Zhuqing withdrew his hand from the doorknob, slowly turned around and looked in the direction of Yin Hao's bed, and then a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Isn't there an existing place for this? What grove are you going to? Chapter 95, Zhu Zhuqing was found out doing bad things. Zhu Zhuqing first put Yin Hao down gently, then walked to Yin Hao's bed by himself, and made the bed lightly. Then he carried Yin Hao onto the bed. According to the results of her many experiments, compared with her soul power and Yin Hao's soul power, she can control Yin Hao for a little more than an hour, which is still plenty of time. When it comes to time, I have to thank my teacher for giving me such a pair of killer eyes. If the teacher knows that he is doing this kind of thing with the sharing and he gave, I wonder if he will be angry. No, why is he angry? I am practicing soul skills according to the sharing and writing manual he left for me. That's right, it's practicing soul skills. After giving himself a reasonable excuse, Zhu Zhuqing felt much better, and then looked back at Yin Hao lying on the bed. Putting her jade hand on his clothes lightly, she unbuttoned them one by one, with such skillful technique that Yin Hao suspected that he might not be as quick as her. Pulling off Yin Hao's shirt, the familiar and charming body once again occupied Zhu Zhuqing's eyes. The smile on her lips gradually became wilder, and her fiery eyes seemed to want to swallow Yin Hao directly. Zhu Zhuqing turned over and pressed Yin Hao under him, slowly leaned over, and kissed Yin Hao's chest. Boom, boom, boom. Just then, there was another knock on the door. Zhu Zhuqing, who just bent down and was about to take the next step, was stunned, and slowly turned his head to look at the door, not daring to move, for fear of making any noise and being heard by the people at the door. Yin Hao, are you there? I have something to tell you. Seeing that there was no movement in the house, a sound like a silver bell sounded outside the door. It's Enning Rongrong. Zhu Zhuqing raised her head and stared at the door without moving. Although she didn't know why Enning Rongrong came to Yin Hao in the middle of the night, she knew very well that she must not let Enning Rongrong see her current situation. I shouted twice but still got no response. Enning Rongrong at the door frowned. Did you go out? As a cat martial soul, his hearing is naturally very sensitive. After hearing Enning Rongrong's words talking to himself, Zhu Zhuqing secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Then there was another sound of footsteps at the door. It must have been that Enning Rongrong felt that there was no one inside and left, right. Zhu Zhuqing exhaled foul breath, ignored the commotion outside, lowered his head and prepared to continue what he had just done. But at this moment, a mutation suddenly occurred. Suddenly, there was a rush of footsteps at the already quiet door, and they were getting closer. But in just 2 seconds, he came to the door. Before Zhu Zhuqing could react, the already extremely fragile wooden door made a pop sound and then opened in response. Enning Rongrong stood at the door with a smile on her face. "I knew you were." With just one glance, Enning Rongrong's smile froze. She had seen a figure sitting on the bed through the crack in the door, although she could not see clearly due to the lighting. Who else could be in Yin Hao's room besides him? That's why Enning Rongrong pretended to leave, hopping to make him relax his guard, and then kicked the door open. But when she kicked the door open, she was dumbfounded. How could it be a figure? It's clearly 2 people, one up and one down. Yin Hao was seen with his upper body exposed and his eyes looking at the ceiling blankly, looking like he was being controlled, while Zhu Zhuqing was riding on him with a slight blush on his face. Everyone in Enning Rongrong was dumbfounded. He stared blankly at Zhu Zhuqing, who was not far in front of him, and then at Yin Hao, who had a stupid face, opened his small mouth and didn't know what to say for a moment. Zhu Zhuqing, on the other hand, was sitting on Yin Hao, looking at Enning Rongrong and not knowing what to say. There was an eerie silence in the room for a while. Zhu Zhuqing originally planned to use Sharingan to control Enning Rongrong directly, but unfortunately, she had used up all her soul power when controlling Yin Hao before. Let alone releasing the illusion now, even Sharingan couldn't maintain it. Enning Rongrong spoke first to break the calm. "That, Zhu Qing." Enning Rongrong stumbled and talked for a long time, but did not say a whole sentence. Zhu Zhuqing didn't answer, but countless thoughts flashed through his mind, or kill her directly. But this idea was rejected by Zhu Zhuqing as soon as it appeared, not to mention that she and Enning Rongrong have no grievances or enmity, or even have a good relationship at ordinary times. And besides, if she really kills Enning Rongrong, then what is waiting for her is definitely the anger and pursuit from the Kibao Glazed sect. Zhu Zhuqing got off the bed, stretched out his hand and pulled Yin Hao's shirt up, covering his exposed body. In her eyes, Yin Hao is her personal belongings. How can she let other women see it? Zhu Zhuqing walked slowly to Enning Rongrong, walked around her and walked outside the door. After looking around to make sure that no one was around, he turned around and entered the house and closed the door. He looked at Enning Rongrong and said, "Rongrong, what did you see?" There was no hint of threat in his calm words. Enning Rongrong is not a little girl who is scared when she is scared. As the eldest lady of the 7 treasure glazed tile school and the jewel in Enning Fengzhai's palm, she will not be scared by Zhu Zhuqing so easily. Just now she was just shocked by the scene in front of her, but now that she has come to her senses, she has returned to her appearance as that little witch. He ignored Zhu Zhuqing and walked straight towards Yin Hao. Enning Rongrong walked to the bed and waved her hand in front of Yin Hao's eyes, but saw that he didn't respond. He pushed Yin Hao's arm again, but there was still no response. Enning Rongrong smiled and stretched out her arms to lift off Yin Hao's top that Zhu Zhuqing had just covered. Zhu Zhuqing was indifferent before, but when he saw that Enning Rongrong wanted to take off Yin Hao's clothes, his face immediately turned cold, and he rushed to the bed with one stride and stretched out his hand to hold Enning Rongrong's hand. In her eyes, Yin Hao is her person, and it's nothing more than being touched by Zyro Wu at ordinary times. After all, she is Yin Haoming's girlfriend on the surface. She is not strong enough now, so she can't say anything more. But Enning Rongrong, why should she? Seeing Zhu Zhuqing blocking Enning Rongrong, she was stunned for a moment, but she didn't take back her hand and said with a half-smile, "Zhuqing, I can't tell, you are really 2 people behind your back." Zhu Zhuqing didn't respond directly, but just spoke with a cold face. "Have you seen enough? Let's go." Seeing that Enning Rongrong refused to take back his hand, Zhu Zhuqing took Enning Rongrong's hand off Yin Hao with his own hands, and then threw it out. Enning Rongrong didn't care about the hand being thrown away, and continued to look at Zhu Zhuqing with a half-smile. "Oh, I thought you were able to pick off the lovesickness heartbroken red before because of Dai Mubai's big stupid tiger, so it was because of Yin Hao." Chapter 96, Zhu Zhuqing and Enning Rongrong fall out. "Oh, I thought it was because of Dai Mubai's big stupid tiger that you were able to pick off the heartbroken red before, but it turned out to be because of Yin Hao." Zhu Zhuqing gave her a cold look, but he didn't deny it either. Enning Rongrong continued to speak to himself. It's a pity that Zyro Wu still regards you as a good friend, but you actually treated her boyfriend like this behind the scenes. If I read correctly, Yin Hao must have fallen into some kind of illusion. I have to say that Enning Rongrong, as the little princess of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, is indeed well informed. Although she doesn't know what is controlling Yin Hao now, she can tell at a glance that it is due to illusion. After hearing the words Zyro Wu and boyfriend, Zhu Zhuqing seemed to have been touched by some kind of taboo, and the martial spirit instantly possessed him, directly grabbed Enning Rongrong by the neck and pressed her against the wall. Enning Rongrong didn't expect Zhu Zhuqing to do it as soon as he said he would. Without any precautions, his face turned red, and he had difficulty breathing when Zhu Zhuqing pinched him directly. He could only use his 2 arms to continuously hit Zhu Zhuqing's right hand that was pinching his neck. At the same time, Yin Hao, who was lying on the bed, was also startled. What's the situation? Could this be the legendary sick and delicate physique? Except for the person she likes, can others not care? Of course, Yin Hao can't just watch Enning Rongrong being strangled to death by Zhu Zhuqing. If Zhu Zhuqing doesn't let go, he will have to get rid of the illusion in advance. But fortunately Zhu Zhuqing still had sense and didn't kill him, but after just 5 or 6 seconds, he released Enning Rongrong. But even so, Enning Rongrong, who was let go, fell to his knees directly, clutching his neck and coughing non-stop. Zhu Zhuqing didn't seem to care about her appearance, just stood aside and watched coldly. After a long while, Enning Rongrong finally came to his senses and looked at Zhu Zhuqing in shock. She really didn't expect that this sister, who is usually pretty good, would actually do it if she said so, and it was for Yin Hao. After Enning Rongrong recovered, Zhu Zhuqing spoke again. Go away, don't tell anyone what happened today, otherwise I will never care about our friendship again. Friendship? Is it for the sake of friendship that you acted like you were going to strangle me to death just now? I still have to thank you. Slowed down, after hearing Zhu Zhuqing's words, Enning Rongrong also stood up directly and looked at Zhu Zhuqing provocatively. Really, I want to see how you disregard the friendship law. You and Zyro Wu are sisters, right? Can you do such a thing in consideration of friendship? Then you must never take friendship into account. I can't bear it. You. Zhu Zhuqing's face became colder, and his breathing gradually became heavy. There seemed to be something called murderous aura emerging from his body, and he looked at Enning Rongrong motionlessly. At this moment, Yin Hao, who was lying on the bed, moved his arms suddenly. Although the movement was relatively small, Zhu Zhuqing still noticed it. In addition, she could clearly feel that the soul power in Yin Hao's body had begun to counterattack, so she didn't dare to stay any longer and just wanted to clean up the scene and leave quickly. Immediately, he stopped talking to Enning Rongrong, quickly cleared up the situation, kissed Yin Hao on the lips lightly, and then looked at Enning Rongrong. Let's go, he will wake up in a quarter of an hour at most, and it's hard for you to explain. After speaking, he walked towards the door first, but he didn't go out, but stood at the door and looked at Enning Rongrong. Enning Rongrong probably felt that the previous stimulation was not enough, so she turned her eyes and walked towards the bed. It may be out of revenge, or it may be sincere. I saw Enning Rongrong, who was standing by the bed, suddenly bent down and kissed Yin Hao on the lips. Seeing this scene, Zhu Zhuqing, who had no time to stop him, turned even darker and terrifying. Yin Hao doubted that if Enning Rongrong dared to take another bite, Zhu Zhuqing would dare to kill her first regardless of the consequences. But luckily Enning Rongrong didn't do that either. After kissing Yin Hao, he looked at Zhu Zhuqing provocatively, then opened the door and left. Zhu Zhuqing was also preparing to leave after Enning Rongrong left. But it seemed that he thought of something again. He just took a step out of the door and turned back, first wiped Yin Hao's lips with his own sleeve, then kissed Yin Hao again, and then left contentedly. The next morning, it was still the location of the Shrek playground. Flanders. You Zyrogang and everyone in Shrek stood there. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to Infinite Novel Audio. Flender frowned when he looked at the people who assembled again. Where's Dai Mubai? Why didn't others come? Ma Hongjun seemed to understand a little bit, and said, Boss Dai said he was not feeling well, so let me ask him for leave. Hearing this, Flender frowned even deeper. Ask for leave again? Why does he always have the most things to do? girls don't have as many things to do as him. After hearing Flender's words, Zyro Wu burst out laughing straight away, and even Oscar and the others next to her couldn't hold back anymore. Flender seemed to have thought of something, coughed twice in embarrassment, and then saw that Yin Hao hadn't come, so he quickly changed the subject. "Where's Zyro Hao? He's busy too." Before he finished speaking, Yin Hao slowly walked over from the other side. "Dane." Flender looked back and asked a little puzzled. "Zyro Hao, what's wrong with you? You're here so late." Of course, Yin Hao did it on purpose, but it was also to remind someone, otherwise he would not be able to bear doing this every day. "Yin Hao, the main reason is that she only cares about herself, not me. It's uncomfortable." Yin Hao scratched his head and said, "I don't know why, I feel that I haven't been in a good mood these 2 days, so I slept a little too much." Flender also looked at Yin Hao with concern after hearing the words. "Not in spirit, are you okay?" Yu Zyrogang on the side also looked over. "Yeah, are you okay?" Zyro Wu even walked quickly to Yin Hao, looking at this and that with concern, as if she was afraid that something might happen to Yin Hao. Others also stepped forward to say a few words, more or less true or false. Only Zhu Zhuqing stood there with a guilty look on his face, not knowing what he was thinking. After talking with Yin Hao, Enning Rongrong quietly retreated to Zhu Zhuqing's side, looked at her playfully, and whispered, "I can't tell, Zhuqing, you're still playing very intensely, you've made everyone mentally weak." Zhu Zhuqing glared at her coldly, but didn't say anything. After Yin Hao said he was uncomfortable, almost everyone in Shrek came forward to chat with him. Whether it was true or not, it could at least prove that Yin Hao's popularity in Shrek is still very good. Also, after all, who can refuse a good friend who thinks of you everywhere? Back to the topic, after Yin Hao repeatedly assured that he was fine, Flender and the others let go of Yin Hao. Only Zyro Wu still hung on him and did not leave, causing Zhu Zhuqing's eyes to flash a cold light. Yu Zyrogang ignored the actions of Zyro Wu and Yin Hao and spoke directly. "All right, let's go to the Great Spirit Arena today to continue the second stage of training. Since Mubai won't be going, then the 7 of you can go." Chapter 97, The Arrival of the Team Battle. A month passed like that. In 1 month, Yin Hao, Zyro Wu, Zhu Zhuqing, and Tang San's individual matches were fairly smooth, but Ma Hongjun and Dai Mubai's individual matches were not good, they always lost. Not only that, as time went by, Ma Hongjun's body had more and more frequent outbreaks of evil fire, and once it even broke out inside the Great Soul Arena. If Flender was not there at that time, Ma Hongjun would probably attack him. Dai Mubai made his move. As for the team competition, Yin Hao has not participated in it, because if he participates, 7 people must participate in the Soul fighting at the Soul King level, and if he does not participate, they will be at the Soul Sect level, so there is no way. Another day at noon, Yu Zyrogang went to register everyone on behalf of the entire Shrek team, while everyone else, including Flanders, stayed in the rest area. Zyro Wu and Yin Hao are still tired of being together, Zhu Zhuqing is still watching coldly not far away, and Enning Rongrong is like looking for excitement, coming to Yin Hao's side to say a few words from time to time, and returning to Zhu Zhuqing's side to provoke like saying a few words to her. As for the others, Tang San was still practicing. Oscar came online again and followed Enning Rongrong to say this. Even though Enning Rongrong didn't want to pay attention to him, Ma Hongjun looked around with a wretched look, but his eyes were also from time to time. The ground rested on Dai Mubai. But Dai Mubai is the one who has changed the most, and he doesn't know why. It started a month ago, and he doesn't know why. He seemed to have opened the door to a new world. He stopped pretending every day, either playing with his hair or playing with rouge and gouache. He didn't even wear men's clothes. He changed into a red and blue dress and a pair of black stockings. With his handsome appearance and his curvy figure, even if he admits that he is a man, no one will believe him, right? Not only that, he would also leave the team and go inside Soto City from time to time, not knowing what he was doing. It's not that no one asked him, but he just didn't say it, and he even seemed disgusted that people asked him this question, and as time passed, people stopped asking him. After a while, Yu Zyrogang came back with a stack of materials in his hand. He first took Flanders aside and said something, and after discussing it, he turned his head to look at Yin Hao and the others. "Children, you don't need to participate in today's single or double matches. We will go to the main soul fighting arena in the center to participate in the team match today. As soon as this remark came out, everyone's eyes were attracted, and Yu Xiaogang didn't have any intention of hiding, and directly told everyone what happened when he signed up. The general meaning is that Director Ao of the Great Soul Arena took the initiative to find him, and wanted to invite their Shrek team to participate in a soul fight in the main center of the Soul Arena and defeat a team. But the help was not in vain, as he was given gold soul coins as a reward. After reading the opponent's information, Yu Xiaogang thought about it and felt that this matter was feasible, so he agreed. After hearing Yu Xiaorogang's speech, Yin Hao thought about it for a while. According to the plot, this team should be the Huangdu team. Sure enough, Yu Xiaogang then handed everyone a piece of information. The Royal Fighting Team, all 7, the owner of the All-Silver Fighting Spirit badge. Captain Yu Tianheng, Martial Soul, Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus Rex, Level 39 Assault Soul Master, Soul Ring, 2 yellow and 1 purple. Vice Captain Du Guyan, Martial Soul, Jade Phosphorus Snake Emperor, Level 51 Control Department Soul Master, Soul Ring, 2 yellows, 2 purples and 1 black. Team Member Shimo Martial Soul, Xunwu Turtle, a Level 38 Defense Soul Master, Soul Ring, 2 yellow and 1 purple. Team Member Shimo Martial Soul, Xunwu Turtle, a Level 37 Defense Soul Master, Soul Ring, 2 yellow and 1 purple. Team Members Yufeng Martial Soul, Wind Chime Bird, a Level 36 Agility Attack Soul Master, Soul Ring, 2 yellow and 1 purple. Team Member Oslo Martial Soul, Ghost Leopard, Level 36 Sensitive Attack Department Soul Master, Soul Ring, 2 yellow and 1 purple. Team Member Yilingaling Wuhan, Jiexin Heitang, a Level 35 Auxiliary System Soul Master, Soul Ring, 2 yellow and 1 purple. Level 51 Soul King. Enning Rongrong suddenly exclaimed, pointing to Juguyan on the information and said. After hearing her words, everyone in Shrek also looked at the information in their hands. Yin Hao also noticed that the original Du Guyan should only be at level 38 to 39, but didn't Yin Hao give her an immortal herb before? Not only has her soul power been greatly improved, but her martial soul has also evolved from the Jade Scaled Snake to the Jade Phosphorus Snake Emperor. After hearing Enning Rongrong's exclamation, Zyro Wu also looked at the information in her hand, but immediately spoke. What are you afraid of? Isn't Brother Hao also the Soul King, and the soul power level is 3 levels higher than hers? After this period of training, Yin Hao's soul power has also broken through from level 53 to level 54, which is what Zyro Wu said is 3 levels higher than Du Guyan. After saying this, everyone in Shrek seemed to have received a reassurance, and Tang San also smiled and said, Yes, they have a Soul King, don't we? Brother Hao's level is higher than hers, what are you afraid of? At this time, Yu Xiaogang interrupted everyone. According to the information, the 7 people on the other side are a very complete combination. The 2 people you should pay most attention to are their captain and deputy captain, the Soul Master of the Blue Lightning Overlord Dragon, and the Soul Master of the Jade Phosphorus Snake Emperor. Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex, Xiaogang. Flender seemed to think of something suddenly. But his words were stopped by the eyes of the master. Yu Xiaogang continued. As the top existence of the beast spirit, the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus has extremely strong attack power and is known as the strongest attack beast spirit. Its status in the beast spirit is equivalent to that of Rongrong's 7 treasures glazed tower in the auxiliary system, the same as in Wuhan. As for this Jade Phosphorus Snake Spirit Master, since she chose the control system, she reminds me of someone. Flender, do you remember him? After Yu Xiaorogang's reminder, Flender's face changed suddenly. You said it, shouldn't it be him? Dai Mubai became a little impatient and spoke. Dean Master, don't play charades, what exactly are you talking about? Yu Xiaogang straightened his expression and continued. The Jade Phosphorus Snake Spirit is a rare martial spirit on the mainland, just like the martial arts spirits of several major families, but there is only one famous Jade Phosphorus Snake Spirit Master in history. He just thought it was a special control-type Soul Master. To be precise, he should be called Jade Phosphor Duluo. I think some of you must have heard of it. Hearing the words Jade Phosphorus Duluo, Dai Mubai's expression changed drastically, and he said hastily, You're talking about that jade phosphorus duo who claims to dominate the world with drugs and is the most difficult to deal with. Yu Xiaogang took a deep breath and nodded slowly. Besides him, is there any jade phosphorus duo? As far as I know, apart from him, there are very few jade phosphorus snake soul masters, and even if there are, they will not be of the control system. Since the opponent's vice captain is a jade phosphorus snake of the control system, I can be sure that she has an inseparable relationship with jade phosphorus duo. Others may not know, but I know clearly that jade phosphorus duo also has the compound surname Dugu. Enning Rongrong suddenly said, then their captain is from the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus family. Flender smiled wryly and said, besides the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family, at least I haven't heard of the existence of Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex soul masters. The background of this Hyundu combination is scary. Not only these two, Xunwu Turtle it is a martial soul as famous as the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's just that there are fewer Xunwu Turtle soul masters, and there is no complete sect, so they are not as famous as the Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus Rex. Even so, the Black Tortoise is also a top existence among defensive martial arts. Yu Xiaogang turned his head and looked at Oscar, then at Yin Hao, and then said, Zyro Ao, you don't want to participate in this competition. I have already told Director Ao that you should give up your position to Zyro Hao. His spirit power level is high. With him, we may still win. When Oscar heard this, although he was unhappy, he didn't say anything. He just nodded and said nothing more. Chapter 98. 2 flowers bloom, 1 branch each. At this moment in the Hyundu team, Dugu Yan and the others were sitting in the lounge chatting. Sister Yan, why do you think you've been so unhappy these days? What's going on? Did you have a conflict with the boss? Yu Feng looked at Duguyan sitting there alone and couldn't help asking. Yu Tianheng, who was sitting in the middle of the crowd, heard this and quickly spoke. Yu Feng, what nonsense are you talking about? When did I have a conflict with Yanzi? While speaking, Yu Tianheng carefully looked at Dugu Yan's position. He didn't know what was going on. Ever since Dugu Yan's soul power increased inexplicably a few months ago, he had always kept a distance from him intentionally or unintentionally, as if alienating him. Dugu Yan raised his head when he heard what everyone said, and gave Yu Tianheng a complicated look, and then a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. What are you talking nonsense? I'm just in a bad mood due to some things during this period. In fact, Dugu Yan couldn't help it, since her grandfather Dugu Bo suddenly came to the academy half a year ago and pulled her out of it. Then he took her to a deserted place and gave her a strange lotus flower and asked her to eat it. Although Dugu Yan felt strange at the time, but out of trust in his grandfather, he still ate that strange lotus. Then a strange thing happened. As soon as she entered it, the lotus flower turned into a strange energy and entered her body, and she also began to absorb it unconsciously. 39-40. Under the influence of that lotus, her soul power reached level 40 all the way. That's not all, even her martial spirit has evolved from the ordinary green scale snake martial spirit to the green lin snake emperor. But before she could be happy for even 2 seconds, her grandfather Dugu Bo revealed a shocking news. He has taken refuge with the Holy Son of Wuhan Palace, and that lotus flower was given to him by the Holy Son of Wuhan Palace. Dugu Yan was stunned at the time. His first reaction was that it was impossible. After all, the relationship between Wuhandian and their Bilin family is well known. It is really not good. But seeing her grandfather's serious face, Dugu Yan also knew that he was not joking. This made her very conflicted. Grandpa took refuge in Wuhandian, and Wuhandian was opposed to the Landian Tyrannosaurus family, and her boyfriend Yu Tianheng was from the Blue Dian Tyrannosaurus family. Dugu Bo seemed to see her conflict, but he didn't have the slightest idea of solving it for her, and even directly stated that she must break up with Yu Tianheng and stay away. No matter how much Dugu Yan begged him, telling her feelings for Yu Tianheng would not help. Until now, although she has not clearly broken up with Yu Tianheng, it is almost the same, with only a name left. At this moment, the door of the lounge opened, and a middle-aged man walked in. The middle-aged man looks about 30 years old. He has an ordinary appearance, simple black hair, and simple and plain clothes. Only his eyes are particularly bright. He is Qin Ming, the teacher of the Imperial Fighting Team. Seeing Qin Ming coming in, Yu Tianheng and others hurriedly stopped chatting and stood up to greet him. Teacher Chen. Teacher Chen. Teacher Chin's eyes flashed with light, and there was a hint of deep light in his bright black eyes. This time, I'm afraid you are going to meet your opponent. I just got the simple information about your opponent tonight from the City Lord. This is just confirmed by the Suitu Great Spirit Arena. Take a look. While speaking, he walked to the sofa behind the crystal table and sat down. There was a flash of light in his hand, and there was an extra piece of cloth, which was spread out on the table. Yu Feng was still a little unconcerned. What's there to see here? We have Sister Yan and Boss here. What team can be our opponent? Yu Tianheng glanced at Yu Feng with satisfaction when he heard the words, but he still spoke. Knowing yourself and the enemy is the only way to win every battle, let's see. Hearing this, Yu Feng stopped saying anything and followed the others to the cloth and started looking at it. Shrek Team. Captain, Young Master Xuanghua Martial Soul, Variant Blue-Silver Grass, Level 53 Control Department Battle Soul Master, Soul Ring, 2 yellows, 1 purple and 2 blacks. Seeing the first crowd, Yu Tianheng was stunned. Yu Tianheng raised his head and glanced at Zhu Guyan. He happened to meet her gaze, and his eyes were filled with shock. Oslo directly pointed at Bubo and said half-jokingly to Qin Ming, "Teacher Qin, this information can't be inferior information you bought from some small businessman, right? How can you be so ridiculous? The 4th soul ring is a 10,000-year soul ring, ha ha ha." Oslo laughed while talking. Yu Feng and the others also smiled in agreement. But after they laughed for 3 seconds, they found that Qin Ming was still looking at them seriously, without any sign of joking. Seeing this, Oslo and the others had to stop laughing in embarrassment. "Have you finished laughing?" Qin Ming said seriously. Qin Ming is just over 30 years old, not even 40. Although he is their teacher, they usually have a good relationship with him. It's rare to see him look so serious like today. Hearing Qin Ming's words, Oslo and others were a little at a loss for a moment. They didn't know why the usually amiable teacher Qin suddenly became so serious. "Hey," Qin Ming sighed and scanned several people back and forth. "I know that you are all geniuses among your peers, and you have reached a realm that an ordinary person may not be able to reach in a lifetime at a young age, but you must be clear, there are people outside of people, and there is a sky beyond the sky." Then Qin Ming walked slowly towards the direction of the cloth, picked it up, and pointed at Master Xuanghua, who was first in line. "I was also shocked when I first saw this information. I even doubted the authenticity of this information just like you, but after a series of confirmations, I was sure that this information is true." Yu Tianheng frowned and asked his own question. "Teacher Qin, the theoretical education we have received since childhood is that the 4th soul ring cannot be more than 8,000 years old. The 4th soul ring is 10,000 years old, which is really a bit unbelievable, isn't it?" Qin Ming took over what Yu Tianheng said. Yu Tianheng did not deny it, but nodded and admitted it. "Oh," Qin Ming chuckled lightly. "You have to remember that there are many unbelievable people and things in this world, but you just happen to meet them. Shrek. Speaking of which, I have quite a connection with your opponent team this time." One sentence aroused the curiosity of Yu Feng and the others. "Mr. Qin, do you know them, or are there any descendants of you among them?" Hearing everyone's questions, Qin Ming just smiled and shook his head without answering. Chapter 99, Team Battle. It is a great honor to be able to host the group Fighting Spirit competition in the main Fighting Spirit field for all the distinguished guests again. I hope all the distinguished guests will have a good time tonight. Today will be a major event, and we only arranged for this soul fight tonight. Although the 2 sides in the battle are only at the level of soul masters, they both already have the honor of silver fighting soul badges. If you have to give them a title, I think the word genius will be very suitable. Dudu will explain the whole process for the distinguished guests. Next, let me introduce the situation of the 2 sides to the distinguished guests. The hostess in white, Dudu, said hello to the audience and said, "Huangdu Team Captain, Yu Tianheng, Soul Master of Blue Lightning Overlord Dragon. Shrek Team Captain, Mr. Xuanghua, Blue Silver Grass Soul Master." As the host, Dudu, a girl in a white dress, skillfully introduced the situation of the 2 sides. The purpose is very simple, that is, to bring a sense of anticipation to every VIP audience present. Okay, I won't talk about the redundant words of Dudu. Next, I will invite players from both sides to play. Dudu is also a Soul Master of the Soul Master level. I really want to see what happens to these Soul Masters of the same level as Dudu. Fantastic performance. While talking, white light suddenly gushed out from the host Dudu, and then a strand of white suddenly appeared in her long brown wavy hair, and a pair of white wings quietly stretched out from behind. 3 yellow wings, the soul rings, appeared on her body at the same time. The third soul ring shone brightly, flapped its wings, and unexpectedly took off into the air with her amplified soul tool. It looks beautiful. On both sides of the fighting spirit stage, 2 doors opened silently at the same time, and players from both sides entered the arena at the same time, walked towards the center of the fighting spirit platform. On the left, it is the Emperor fighting team. Blue Lightning Overlord Dragon Soul Master Yu Tianheng walked at the front of the team, and Du Guyan, who was the control system Soul Master of the entire team, stood in the middle. Following the two were the Shi family brothers. Then came the Black Panther Oslo and the Wind Chime Bird Yufeng, and at the end was the mysterious Nine-Hearted Begonia Soul Master Yi Lingling. On the right side are the Shrek people, Dai Mu by walking catwalk in women's attire wearing black stockings and high heels walking at the front of the team. On the left of the Shrek team was Zhu Zhuking, who was dressed in black leather with a frosty face, and on the right was the fat little Ma Hongjun with a wretched face. Behind Dai Mubai are Zyro Wu and Tang San, who are the team's second attack system spirit master. Then Yin Hao is at the back of the middle, and finally Enning Rongrong is naturally an auxiliary system spirit master. Stopping on the soul fighting stage, Yu Tianheng at the front of the Huangdu team unceremoniously scanned the people opposite with his sharp eyes, as if he was demonstrating to them. On the other hand, Dai Mubai, who was walking in front of the Shrek team, had a smile on his face, and he didn't care when he saw Yu Tianheng's sharp gaze. He even stretched out his white hand to touch his face, and then gave Yu Tianheng a wink, which made Yu Tianheng stunned. Damn it, that white tiger on the other side is a real horse flea. The fight hasn't started yet. First seduce our boss, how shameless. Yufeng saw Dai Mubai's movements clearly, and said directly without politeness. Oslo didn't take it seriously. Instead he licked his lips and looked at Dai Mubai with interest. I said it's no wonder you've been single until now, you deserve it. You scold her for being such a punctual and proactive chick. You'd better stay single for the rest of your life. Yufeng was not happy when he heard this. Hey, who do you think I am? A decent boy from a good family, single as long as he is single, this kind of woman who has been ridden countless times. I don't even want to give it to me. Oslo gave Yufeng a look of disdain. Serious, Oslo cursed secretly in his heart, then he stopped talking to Yufeng, but continued to look at Dai Mubai with great interest. Damn, I must go and find this chick after fighting the soul. It's too on time. Oslo swallowed and thought silently. Soul Masters participating in the team battle, please pay attention. From now on you have 1 minute to summon your own martial soul. When I announce the start, you can attack, until one party admits defeat, collapses, or falls off the soul fighting platform. Dudu, who was floating in midair, flapped her pair of snow-white pigeon wings, and said to the team members on both sides with her soft and moving voice. It was a kind of enjoyment for the VIP spectators, watching the battle in the great soul arena, that the soft voice was heard, but it was a sign that the battle was about to start when it was heard by the members of the Shrek 7 monsters and the royal fighting team. Oslo Yufeng and the two stopped arguing, and Dai Mubai also recovered his serious expression. Yin Hao glanced at the people across the way, then his whole body was shaken, and he spoke. Brothers, open martial arts. Then he took the lead in releasing the martial soul, and as a blue-silver grass with golden stripes appeared in Yin Hao's hands, 5 soul rings, 2 yellow, 1 purple and 2 black, also appeared. Although he had made sufficient psychological preparations before taking the stage, when this scene really appeared before his eyes, Yu Tianheng and the others were still a little shocked, and their aura also dissipated a lot. In addition to Yin Hao, Zyro Wu and the others also turned on their spirits one after another, Zyro Wu with 2 white ears pricked up, Zhu Zhuking who exuded the aura of keeping strangers away, and Enning Rongrong who was holding the glazed pagoda. Of course, the beautiful woman Dai must be indispensable. I saw the phantom of the white tiger appearing on Dai Mubai's body after turning on the martial spirit, and his whole person's momentum changed from weak and weak to heroic in an instant, like a female general stationed at the border. Seeing this scene, Ma Hongjun, who was standing not far behind Dai Mubai, couldn't help swallowing. Boss Dai's figure is getting better and better, almost catching up with Zhu Qing's size. Ma Hongjun thought silently, but the squirming throat showed the impurity in his heart at this moment. Seeing that everyone in Shrek had opened their martial souls, Yu Tianheng, the captain of Huangdu, no longer hesitated and directly ordered to open their martial souls. In an instant, 3 soul rings, 2 yellow and 1 purple, appeared on everyone's bodies. There is only one exception, and that is Du Guyan. I saw her soul power was shaken, and a cold and glamorous aura emanated from her body, and then a huge green long snake phantom appeared behind her, opened its bloody mouth, revealing 2 huge white fangs. Although they were not close, Yin Hao and others could still feel the aura coming from the Snake King's spirit. The corners of Yin Hao's mouth raised slightly, Du Guyan, Snake Girl. As the martial souls of both sides were opened and the soul rings emerged, the horn of the beginning of this fighting spirit was also sounded. Both Huangdu and Shrek have entered into a fighting state, one after another. War is imminent. The author may have become positive again. I had an injection yesterday, and I still felt very uncomfortable. I had a fever and nausea, which was very uncomfortable. But the author will try to keep it updated steadily, but after all, it is a word with a sick code, if there is any disclosure. Please point it out. Chapter 100. Du Guyan looked at the blue-haired young man wearing a mask opposite, frowned and said, "According to Mr. Chin's information, the man with blue long hair on the opposite side should be the Soul King. He will be handed over to me to deal with. You can deal with other people. Oslo will be responsible for protecting and assisting." "Oh, it is good. Understood." Everyone in Huangdu agreed, but there was nothing they could do if they disagreed. The person opposite was the Soul King. They had just fought with the Soul King, haha. Yin Hao looked at the actions on the other side, although he couldn't hear what they were talking about, but seeing Du Guyan's eyes full of fighting spirit, he could guess something. So he spoke to Tang San in front. "Zyro-san, let's change positions. The Soul King on the opposite side probably wants to deal with me. I'll go play with her." Tang San was slightly taken aback when he heard Yin Hao's voice, but then he didn't refuse, nodded and exchanged places with Yin Hao. The soul fighting officially begins. The 9 treasures glazed tower in Ening Rongrong's hand sent out several rays of light that sank into everyone's bodies, and everyone who was assisted and blessed by Ening Rongrong also increased their soul power, and their momentum also increased a bit. "Come on, guys." Yin Hao opened his mouth and said something. No answer was received, but everyone rushed forward with their wuhan. Yu Tianheng and others on the opposite side were not afraid and went straight to greet them. And Yin Hao was no exception. He rushed towards Du Guyan with the blue-silver overlord spear. Seeing Yin Hao, who took the initiative to come over, Du Guyan was stunned. What's the matter? A soul master of the control system wants to play close combat or follow the beast spirit. Yu Xiaogang and Flender in the audience were also stunned. Yu Xiaogang patted the table beside him and said, "What's the matter with Xiaohao? How could he rush to the front? He's a control-type soul master." Flender frowned but still comforted him. "Trust Xiaohao, he should have his own ideas." During the conversation, the 2 groups of people have already met. The 3rd spirit ring on Dai Mubai's body lit up, the white tiger Vajra transformation was activated, and the effect, became more plump. And Yu Tianheng, who was facing him, did not dare to neglect. Although his opponent was only a woman, after all, he had 1 more soul ring than him, and he directly opened the 3rd soul ring, and Thunder Fury stacked buffs for himself. As for the others, Ma Hongjun, who possessed the grass chicken phoenix spirit, directly approached Yufeng, who was also a bird soul master. Under the cover of Tang San's blue-silver grass, Zyro Wu rushed towards the opponent's 2 defensive system soul masters. But Zhu Zhuqing bypassed the crowd and went straight to the opposite back row. As for Du Guyan and Yin Hao, who had the highest soul power, they faced each other slowly. Yin Hao is because of the color. Appreciating Du Guyan's beauty, he doesn't want to fight her directly, but wants to have a little chat with her. But Du Guyan was puzzled by Yin Hao's abnormal behavior as a control system soul master who took the initiative to step forward, but out of caution, he didn't dare to step forward easily. Just when the 2 looked at each other, Dai Mubai and the others had already bumped into each other. In the next second, a dramatic scene happened. After Dai Mubai of the Fourth Ring Soul Sect collided with Yu Tianheng of the Third Ring Soul Master, according to common sense, when the qualities of the two spirits are about the same, it should be Dai Mubai with stronger spirit power that completely suppresses Yushin Henkai, even if it is again, the two are evenly matched. What stunned everyone was that the second the two collided, Dai Mubai, who had 4 spirit rings, flew backwards directly after hearing a soft "ah." As his opponent, Yu Tianheng was stunned. Who am I? Where am I? What am I going to do? Yu Tianheng looked down at his hands covered with blue light, and then at Dai Mubai, who had already flown out, and he froze there. Fortunately, this is not a game of kings, otherwise a line of words would definitely appear on the screen, 100% instant kill time. Don't talk about him, look at the other side. Although Ma Hongjun said Wuhan is called a phoenix, but he is a ground chicken, he can't even fly, so he can only use the phoenix line of fire on the ground to continuously attack Yufeng in the sky. But they were all nimbly dodged by Yufeng. Seeing that he could not hit Yufeng for a long time, Ma Hongjun was also a little anxious, but before he could make any new attacks, he saw Dai in the middle from the corner of his eye. Mubai flew out backwards. Ma Hongjun was slightly taken aback, and the line of fire in his mouth also stopped. Seeing this scene, Yufeng, who had been in the sky, brightened before his eyes, spread his wings, leaned over and rushed towards Ma Hongjun, who was on the ground. The speed was so fast that he didn't react until he was approaching Ma Hongjun. Ma Hongjun suddenly turned pale with fright and quickly backed away, but it was too late. His fat body severely restricted his ability to move, and he was chased by Yufeng after he retreated less than 1 meter. He still wanted to resist, and as soon as his mouth puffed up, he was ready to fire another phoenix fire. But how could Yufeng give him a chance? The second and third soul rings lit up at the same time. A pair of white wings sent out several feathered arrows, and accompanied by Yufeng's whip legs, they attacked him fiercely. What? A scream was shouted from Ma Hongjun's mouth, and the phoenix line of fire that had not yet been sent out instantly dissipated. He could only hold his stomach and curl up on the ground, crying continuously. But Yufeng would not give him a chance to slow down. His soul power was shocked again, and he raised his leg and kicked Ma Hongjun again, directly saying that he was kicked off the stage. Boss die, fatty. Tang San originally wanted to control the blue-silver grass to save people, but unfortunately it all happened too quickly. 2 genius, soul masters with higher soul power levels who had also taken the grass jelly were unexpectedly fighting with a soul power level higher than his own. The person with the lower hand didn't even last 3 seconds and was defeated. Tang San had no choice but to take back the blue-silver grass that had just been released so as not to be cut off, and kept cursing Ma Hongjun and Dai Mubai in his heart, 2 wastes, for being killed by someone with a lower level of spirit power than his own. Defeated, and it was still an instant kill. 2 people were reimbursed at the beginning of the game, and Yu Xiaogang and Flender in the audience frowned, their faces very ugly. It's not that they can't accept that the Shrek people lose the game. After all, if they win, they lose, and no one can win forever. But you can't lose too badly, right? This is just the beginning. As soon as the 2 parties reach out, you are finished, not to mention the opponent is dumbfounded. The audience is also dumbfounded. The audience outside the arena was also full of curses. The one who bought the Huangdu team and one was naturally very happy, but as for the one who bought the Shrek card, already stood up and pointed inside. Ma Hongjun and Dai Mubai began to greet their family members. Brother Dong's face was also very ugly. He paid a lot of money to buy Shrek out of respect for Yin Hao's previous game performance and extraordinary soul ring configuration. Originally, he thought that with Yin Hao as a freak, he could make a fortune no matter what, but he didn't expect his teammates to be so clumsy. That's it for today's chapter. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, and subscribe to Infinite Novel Audio. For more stories, check out my other channel AI Otaku Studio, and I'll see you in the next chapter.